Thanks, Moose. Getting there, man. Lots of real life stuff, planning, work, all the fun things going on. Prepping for the con tomorrow starting.
Back in 2001, when we first began working with Gary Gygax.
Sound good? Sound good?
Wonderful
sound check, sound check.
Yeah, he called them the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds, and what he envisioned was this encyclopedic set of books for role players, writers, game designers, the whole lot of us, that we could use in making our games, creating our adventures, writing stuff for publishable content, whatever it may be. And there was really no end to what he envisioned this series to be. We eventually published The Canting Crew, The World Builder,
Good, thank
Fantasy, you. 7 volumes in total. We had another
still without
3
guests yet. They're not here on yet.
Another 3 or 4 after that we were working on. So the series was really open-ended. We are bringing these back. That's what this Kickstarter is.
Hey, Coco.
Got 7 books online ready to be printed. We've got another 3 right after that we want to get it minimally out as we were working on them at the time. Those will be out definitely in PDF, depending on how well the Kickstarter does. And maybe
Chuck reach out to you again? I think he wanted to reach out to you for something else.
Beyond the necessary stretch goals and all that mess. But welcome to the what we're calling the Gary Gygax World Building Archives. And please give us your support. Share it around if you can.
Trying to get the sound down. Here we go.
Whatever you need to do, whatever you can do for us and the memory of Gary Gygax, we very much.
I turned it way down. Didn't sound like it went down that much.
Trollord Games, join the fray.
Great. I thought I turned it way down. I turned the wrong one down. Hi.
Hello.
Sam should be on at any point here. Wait a minute. Go to the next scene. If I can find it. There we go.
Hi. Welcome to Gamescape.
How are you?
Today,
oh, good. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yep, it's getting hot here again. We have like 107 or something. It's the last hot days of the year, I think. We got Santa Ana dry heat, but it's
hot. And see how this thing is standing up. Let's look at some of our smaller features.
Last desert winds are coming. So it's hot and dry and hot, like real desert climate.
All right. You're going to have a folder in there called Magnet.
So, Jeremy, yeah.
Those refer
well, you know
to
what
a
that
few
group needs.
specialty
So,
items that we have here. You can see this tree right here.
I'm just thinking about when I'm going to have time to talk to you this weekend.
After you pop it off, you can go ahead.
If you want to just throw a couple ideas into Discord,
piece you
and
can
I
swap
can work
in
on
there.
them. That's not a problem.
I also just have a plain cliff face you can swap right.
Get that all going.
Whoops.
But I'm glad you're thinking about it.
You can pop in there. Okay.
It's all good.
So let's say you're
last
non-virtual
GrowCon stream.
You know, someone says a
right now.
Word, maybe that makes
I'm hanging in there.
In the side of a cliff for you to enter inside or whatever.
Appreciate it.
So
yes.
This one right next to it is another swappable one. We have a cave entrance. These things blend in real well on the tabletop, as you can see. So there we go. No cave.
We got the con. I decided I'm filling in the. Oh, by the way, so we're gonna do the.
And then our last one is down here.
We're gonna do the warp game on
shelves right here. This whole thing comes
middle
off.
of I think December.
Okay, and there's your magnet faces on the back.
With
you're also going to have
Perry.
open
I'm going to try and get that on the
front
page of
Most
Twitch.
of the time
I think
you're
that'll be the next Twitch front page request I make.
3 by
really
8
cool.
millimeter magnets on this. I needed something with a little more punch than the 2 by 6s I usually use. So you can see the open locks being useful in some cases. Mostly, I think
Thanks,
you'll want to use them on side.
We're almost hyped it up already. Wow. Early hype.
Because you will get into situations where the magnet polarity isn't set up correctly for what you want to do. And those open locks will override the magnets pushing away from each other. In terms of this base here, you can use any 1/4-inch material. I'm using hardboard here.
Is there one miniatures and models? Yeah, I'll never
You could
change off
use
D&D B-Town, but
1/4-inch
I appreciate
cardboard,
that. I did not
1/4-inch
know
foam
that.
core,
That's
some
good to
kind of
know.
plastic, plexiglass, anything
Sort of crafting.
available. You could even use 1/8-inch material and shim it up a
It's good
little
to know.
bit,
I
or
appreciate
double
that.
it up, whatever. So
Yeah, what's up,
there's the
Naz?
hardboard I'm using.
Hey, Sam.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
And these set right
Naz
on
still.
top.
I hope it's not that as hot
Go ahead and
where you are as it
move
is
these
here.
out of the way so you can sort of see the
no,
front
not at all.
mechanism.
Oh, good.
New York, no.
Okay, so we
Yep.
got magnets all
Yeah, we-
along here. And these are just
Yeah,
the
no,
tops
I
of
was
the
just
cliffs.
running around getting
Your board
everything
sets
set up,
right in
moving
here,
stuff
and you
around.
do not
So
need to cut precisely.
slightly
got
out of breath at the
a
moment,
lot
but
of overlap
Yep.
coverage there.
That's good.
As
Yep.
you can see,
75 is
in
nice.
most cases, most spots,
What's
you're
up,
looking
Fuzz?
It's a
at
beautiful
up to
110
an inch of
degrees here, but
coverage.
it's
So,
it's dry
no,
heat,
you know,
so
if
it's
no, keep it.
if you're within a half an inch, that's going to
I don't care how dry it is.
take care
Keep
of
it west of the mountains. No,
And then we have magnets, and these things just
Yep.
pop right in
Classic
there
D&D reprint
and hold
tonight.
things into place. These, this one here is an earlier one.
Let
You
me
can
see
see I
here.
went a little deeper. I decided
That's
to
cool.
change that
oh, that's what I have
for
to
the
get.
one I'm
Oh,
releasing.
wow. 80 in
So you don't
Minnesota.
have so
Wow.
much
Yep.
3D print coverage going back. It
Then
doesn't
where
really
is it?
interfere if you're just doing a
Let's
clip
see.
Let's
face.
get on
But
here.
if you
Let me just
form
make
these
sure
things
everything is
into an
done.
entire butte, that
I
extra
probably
rock
forgot
really
something,
ended
but-
up taking up a lot of surface space. So I trimmed that back a little bit.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's how those top plates hold into place. There are a few features that I'm not showing today that will be available in
Come on a couple minutes early. We'll talk about some quick GREYHAWK updates.
lots of stuff. Yeah.
Let's see here. Alrighty.
Yeah, 70 degrees is a bit chilly. Yeah.
Nah, 70's nice.
Oh, it's saying 62 for me, and that's perfect if I'm going to be with the lights on and talking.
Sam, I don't want to think that you're like in a box somewhere, man.
Oh no, in 2001, I went to Gen Con,
Right.
and there was a heat wave in the Midwest that summer, topping 100. So after spending a week walking around Milwaukee and wherever, Chicago and Milwaukee with Noel, in that heat, I came back and came home, and that's when the heat came east.
Oh, man.
So not just a week, it was stretching into 10 days. And the first time I went to class, I did the usual. I walked over, which is just short of a mile.
Right.
But I got there, and as soon as I was in cool air, because I have a lousy excuse for what's supposed to be air conditioning in my apartment, I'm like, my body's cooling down. I can sleep. No, I can't sleep in the middle of a karate class. So I said, I'm sorry, dude, I can't stay. I'm about to pass out. I walked home, and then I passed out
Oh, my God.
from the heat for about 6 hours.
Wow.
And ever since then, I've been hypersensitive to heat. So
That's the same way I am to cold because I've been been hypothermia. I've been medevaced because I've been almost frozen to death a couple of times. So my body is like, my nose gets cold, my whole body
That
goes
picture
into
from
panic.
Sweden, Anna, that's really bizarre.
Yep.
see that'll make sense to me.
Oh yeah, I had no problems until I've been after basic winter training, and I had hypothermia. Now my body is oversensitive. My nose get a little bit colder, my earlobes get a bit cold. I go into shock, so to speak. It's like a PTSD thing. My whole body goes like, oh, scary. But heat is like no problem. My body's like, oh, wonderful. I'm not
Let me
freezing to
fix
death.
this Zoom. Yeah, B-Town. The Adepticon tends to be the same exact weekend as GaryCon, so that's
Yeah.
kind of hard for
Where's
us.
Adepticon?
Chicago.
Okay.
So it's right there.
Yeah. I have to
So
bounce in between.
yeah, no,
No.
no, definitely not. But yeah, that tends to be where near March 26th. It's the same weekend, isn't it? Again, hold on. Uh, March,
Yeah.
no, it what GaryCon's the 19th through the 20th. No, that's wrong. March.
Hang on a second. Yeah, it's
No, it's the weekend before this year.
okay.
Yeah, but I
There you
can't come
go.
back out. Yeah, yeah.
You go
It's the week
twice. You,
before.
you can
Yeah.
stay. You like last year. You can just stay
I can stay
across
and
a
get thrown out of my
2 week.
house. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'll be lucky if I'm hobbling around there. So, alrighty. Last stream before the con begins for me, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's go over that real quick because we got an update or two.
Oh God. Yeah.
Not a bad thing. And Sam, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, glad to be here again.
All right, so no change here. Ed will be an hour or two late because he's running right from work. I'm NPCing Rev Lantar for Lost City of the Soul. I've sneak peeked a couple of the picks, but thanks to Jeremy of Gamescape 3D, we kind of really went all out on the terrain here. So hold on one second. Let me just throw up one piece. But then again, I mean, we only got 3.5, 4 hours of play, so it's not like I can get a lot done here. But yeah, so there you go. Yep. So there you go. The Lost City is up on the table, with the swamp and all, and the ziggurat and all the things that Will has in his publication. So it's gonna be a fun game. Yeah, lots of really neat things. So looking forward to that. So we got 2 events here on Thursday, all sold out. Friday, Steven Chenault's mother-in-law passed. Chuck is running that game, so just so you're aware. Into the Dark. So Steven's not available this weekend because of a death in the family that came up. But we are, Chuck, Anna, and I will do this What's New for Troller Games. Anna, you don't have to jump in that one if you don't want to, but you can if you want to. On Troller Games' channel at 5, and then yours is still 6. So that's the only.
Yeah, I'm not that involved, so I think I need to prep. So yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. I got it. So that is that's the only change that day. Saturday looks all good. No changes that I'm aware of. Everything's good. Everything is sold out. I got the last 16th spot for the Grand Joust. I'll keep that a semi-secret, but yeah, it's a regular person in the community playing a character that people know. And then Sunday, so that morning spot, kind of Lee gave me an idea. I'm just going to do a little mini talk. New to GREYHAWK, let's talk at 10 o'clock in the morning Sunday. Why not?
Oh,
I'm up.
Good one. Good one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So there, and if you want, I know it's earlier for you, but you want to join me for that one, you can.
Sure. Yeah.
I may reach. Yeah, thanks, Naz. I may reach out to a couple people. And just it's just going to be like a little mini. It's actually, I guess I can make it a Gavin section actually.
Yeah, it's on Sunday too.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning, and then we'll have the Ask Expert Sunday night.
It'll be a double Gavin, so to speak.
Double.
Double,
and I'll be raiding into Connecticut Gaming Ghost Tower and Inverness there. So that's the one ad. So yep, awesome, cool, very cool. All right, and then there's still one event that got put in real late that doesn't have signups, and I know it's super late. I don't know if anyone's going to do it, but most things can run. I think everything left, even with Josh says he's still running this with 4. Lee's got 2. We should have got one more for that. But the Deep Dwarven Delve, Fury of the Bitterroot Tribe, that's Giant Stomp. That's Will. 2 signups. So Dungeonland's almost sold out now. It's got 2. Zavad's got a couple signups, but this one down here is Moonlight Dirge. It's still no signups here. Sunday, October 6th at 2 p.m. So we got nothing going on. It is a Troller game and Castle and Crusade style play. It's on Virtual Ground, Discord, and Foundry. So there you go. Trying, because that one only came in the end of last week. So, but other than that, we are really good. This is the highest percent of signups we've had ever. So thank you. We'll do a classic D&D reprint giveaway tonight, and it's a new month. Thank you for September. It was awesome. So let's talk now. Seasons and weather. This goes way back. I mean, like,
Mhm.
it goes back to the original glossography. At least the seasons do. I know the weather comes out in the 80 box set. So, Sam, what are your thoughts? And welcome.
Welcome. Well, actually, that was where I was going to start, or
Okay.
technically, I was going to start with a bit of an aside. I was going to remind everyone that um, in Visions of Greyhawk 3,
Oh,
Paul Luby did an excellent article
well, I'll bring that up.
Mhm.
Hold on. We can
on
Yep.
go over that.
Yep.
on the climate of Greyhawk.
Yeah, I can
If
do that. So,
if well, I just popped the link in. If you want something based on the weather chart, which was originally in Dragon 68,
yeah, which I have
reprinted
that too to bring up too. Yeah.
reprinted in 83, you're not going to find anything better than that. Of course, this is where I'm going to insert my usual bits of dissent and heresy.
That's the Grimoire.
Uh,
Okay.
I think I don't think his work is Paul's work is wrong. It's that is based directly on that. But I think the guy who wrote the article, for all its goodness, I think he made two poor assumptions.
Well, the good thing is we can go over it and discuss it. That's great. That's great. Well, yeah. So I got Visions 3 up. So why don't we, why don't we go through the evolution of this, and then yeah, we can get there and we can definitely discuss that. I didn't even realize it was in here. Oh, it's climate. Holy jeez, how dumb am I there? Because I got an article in this.
Yes, it's a big article. It's really a main piece, and he goes over. Paul goes over everything. Um, yeah, if you want the established, yeah, an expansion of the established material, I don't think you're really going to get anything better than that.
Okay. Yeah, so here it is right here, and then see, I got I prepped for this. I got if we go and we can open this up, boom, I got Dragon 68 right here too. So we got that, and I got the World of Greyhawk box set and the World of Greyhawk. I'm sorry, the World of Greyhawk folio and the World of Greyhawk box set, which are the four things I could think of, and then all that is stuff that she gave me. So
Right.
we got a lot.
I
There's
didn't give you much because I didn't have much right now that
okay.
had ready laying around, but a few things. Yep.
So if I recall, if we go all the way back to, we go all the way back to the original glossography, right? I think it just talks about how it's warm in the Atlantis. Is that about it? If I recall,
Yeah, pretty much that it's
it's
warm,
blessed by
that
good
there
weather.
are 2 months of winter and 6 months of summer.
Right. I don't remember even what page that was on.
It is because I'm in the full box set. It's on page 5.
Page 5 of the original folio.
Not the folio.
Oh, okay, yeah. All
Of
right.
the later glossography.
All right, glossography. Yep. Yep. I'm right here already. I'm on this weather in the world. That's 18.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So are you talking about the glossography book 1?
Yes.
All right, got it.
Yeah.
All right, page 5. Here we
Where
are.
all the nations
right here.
are. Yes.
Except it says it right here. Yeah, there we go. Except in the northern latitudes, the winter temperatures seldom dip below freezing. So,
Right.
yeah, probably did. Probably did. In the
Yes.
visions one, you got to remember, man, my brain is mush right now, Jeremy. It's just, you know. So, an important acceptance is the Dramage Ocean. Its warm currents tend to moderate the climate of the lands which border it. And that's another thing, Anna, we need to discuss. Why is that? Because I don't. Why is that a warm climate? The drop over there. I don't get that.
That's something I've also tried to figure out why that would be. And first I was like, okay, we have to assume it's magic or godly influence or divine fortune or whatever you might call it, some fantasy stuff. But when I had started talking with some of my friends that are actually experts at this in the real world, one of my friends, she's a doctorate and professor in oceanography and the climate of the planet, of Earth, the planet and stuff, and especially looking at ocean currents and how temperature and all that stuff works in the real world. And during COVID, when I thought that I might look into this, so I emailed her and all of a sudden, because she was sitting at home like the rest of the world forced to, so all of a sudden I had like 5 experts, professors in all of this sitting on Zoom calls,
Chatting it up.
figuring out the climate of of Earth, so to speak, and so that was kind of interesting. And the main reason that you can have much warmer climate in some areas and colder in others are the ocean currents is one of the main, and atmospheric, but water is a much better conductor of energy, so to speak, that will transport energy way better than air does. So that's why the take like the Atlantic, for instance, take the Canadian, North American East Coast versus the European West Coast. It's much, much warmer in Europe, in Scandinavia and Ireland and Iceland than it is in Newfoundland. It is way further south, simply because of the ocean currents. And so what we did was we put together my model of the Earth climate. I started making these what they call gyres, these huge rotations of water that happens in the planet depending on the actual tilt and the size and all that. And so what I did was that the Drummage Ocean, the water comes from the south up along the Greyhawk coast. So it's
have
on
currents.
on the Flanice side, you have the warm. You see the zoom in up there on Drummage Ocean. So you have the currents. It goes in that big circle, so to speak. So that means that
Okay.
the Flanice side gets much warmer, and the western side gets much colder, so to speak. So that is a way of explaining it using only like natural phenomena that happens in the real world. But in a fantasy world, you can always add or change and add in fantastic explanation, but you don't have to.
Right.
This is something that would work in the real world like this.
Can I ask a dumb question? And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I thought that it ran in the northern hemisphere. It would run counterclockwise, not clockwise, because of the rotation.
It depends on the geography, and because
Okay.
it's changed over the history, so to speak. And
Okay.
it depends on the geography, and it also depends on like the how salinity, and like the Amazon River, for instance, when the Amazon River was created, and all of a sudden it's having enormous amount of fresh water poured up, that changed how the thing rotate. And when the North and South America was joined in the
Right.
Panama, when that was created, that changed the whole flow on the whole planet, so to speak. And then you have things like the Iceland sheet of Greenland. If that would melt, that will change the whole flooding and or like how water is transported around the Atlantic and probably around the world. So there's like lots of little things that kind of coalesce and creates the current situation, and that can change then.
All right. So I'm not going to get political here.
Okay, well, two things I'll add into
Yeah.
that that I picked up from Troy,
Okay.
Mhm.
Hannibal. One, you have the Gulf of Gyar, which should produce some warm currents for the
Yep.
drainage.
Mhm.
And second, Jay, if you scan a little bit to the left there,
Uh-huh.
okay, so this is based on the Dragon Annual map. A lot
Yep.
of people presume that, okay, you see where that
Exactly.
line goes to the east,
Mhm.
right there. A lot of people presume that no, there's actually an opening from that down to the
Mhm.
Pearl Sea,
Oh.
Yep.
and it's two separate continents.
Yep. And that will change the whole dynamic if it is or not, so to
Well,
speak.
Right.
that's just like when Central America got closed off. It changed it from North and
Right.
South
Or
America.
like when the Antarctica became its own continent, and
Yeah.
Australia and India and the others that were connected to it, when they broke off and you got an ocean current that could go around the South Pole, that meant that it became cold because that trapped the cold air and the cold water there. And that will be the same here too. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to keep that land bridge, because that all of a sudden creates much more of an interesting both climate dynamic, but also because you can exchange
Okay.
everything, flora, fauna, climate, whatever, between the polar regions and the rest of the planet. If the polar regions are isolated, that means less adventure opportunities, more climate, meaning all the cold is up here, the hot is this opens up for a lot of the cold, especially with the seasonal effect when you have the planet that's tilted 30 degrees. The
Isn't this the
combination
area
of that,
that
yeah.
the Despot and the Gulf of Guyana are all
Well, that's
published?
where the despotic giant kings are, and
Yeah.
on that they do have an opening there connecting, and that's where you would get some major warm currents
Exactly. You could
Okay.
you will
coming
have
up from,
yeah.
right. You get major warm currents coming up from the south and then coming into the drainage, which would make the drainage a lot warmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Sorry, go ahead.
and,
Okay.
and keep the back Lunish lands rather warm.
Okay.
And one of the interesting things when you have a planet with 30 degrees actual tilt, that means that the summers are way warmer up north than they are on Earth, and the winters are way colder. So this will make a really interesting dynamic, because you can have summer season when you can go adventure way up in the polar regions for hunting expeditions and whatnot. And then when it freezes over, you get really bitter winters and cold, and even the ocean would freeze over. So you get much more seasonal variations, and
Okay.
especially when you have a land bridge, because this water is not flowing. A lot of it is more stationary. That means that it gets heated up in the summer and it gets cooled down, and that means that it will even it out, so to speak. So instead of having brutal differences, you will get interesting coastal climates, and you can have mountains can be hot and dry in the summer and bitterly cold in the winter, but you get these kind of coastal effects. So there's a lot of things that can build more interesting adventure environments, so to speak.
Okay.
More variation. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And
Yeah.
this is well put in. What I'm not too thrilled with that weather in the world of Greyhawk and the later
This.
included in the glossography. Yeah, one, he puts the city of Greyhawk at 35 north,
Right.
about the latitude of Knoxville, Tennessee. He says I'd have put it 5 degrees higher up, around 40-ish north, about the latitude of Chicago.
Okay.
And that means, shifting all those weather bands 5 degrees. The second problem that I think is big in his basic assumptions is he uses baseline temperatures for the city of Philadelphia,
Right.
which is a heat island, which is going to be naturally warmer than all the temperature around it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think that gives him much too warm temperatures.
And who does that?
This is the assumptions in the in Dragon 68 that are carried through into the later.
Yeah, and who wrote this? Because there's no by author on this.
David
I'm not
Axler.
sure.
Somebody had mentioned it in the chat.
Oh,
David
okay. Why is
Yeah.
his name not mentioned anywhere in the article? Is bizarre.
It's in the article. It's
Is it?
not in the glossography. His name's right at the start of the article.
Oh, did I miss it? Oh, there it is. Oh,
Yeah,
duh.
David
Oh my
Axler.
God.
Yep.
Yeah, his name's right at the start. But it's, of course, it's not. Oh, if you're looking at the PDF, that's the problem. It's a 2-page spread.
Right.
So it's on the second half of the 2 pages.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Duh. I bet it's on
Yeah, I
page
know.
2. There it is. Okay.
I know. Yeah, one of those easy, overlooked things. So
Right.
I think that's an issue. And then there are two other elements. One, Anne has mentioned, and there's no way to correct for this, that Greyhawk has a 30-degree axial tilt.
Mhm.
And
I like that. But
Oh, no. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is we have precisely zero way of calculating exactly how much this affects temperature.
No, we can assume a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we have no real model to look at.
Well, we can assume a lot of things. They do so much modeling nowadays on planets all the time. So that's what I'm saying, because Greyhawk is still not a real world. So we can assume a lot of things that would be reasonably true in the real world, so to speak.
Yeah. The other problem he has is that he has a very strict linear progression for it getting warmer or colder away from the baseline.
I totally agree. That is the big. He just goes north colder, south warmer, which doesn't compute in the real world.
Temperatures of about 150 degrees at the equator.
Yeah,
that's a little high.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
To say the least. So,
yep.
Those are my descents from the core, of that temperature chart. Like I say, that said,
true.
Going from the temperature chart, if you want a breakdown of climate and then ecological zones for the Flanays. Look in Visions 3.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so that's good to
it's
know.
yeah, and also if you want something fairly simple, straightforward for your game, you can do it. And there is someone did I think it's a Finnish guy who put this in. He made it into a program and put it on the web, so you can actually go there and generate your own weather. So this, I put the link in there. That's GREYHAWK weather on the web. So you just go in there, you put in your location, meaning how far north it is, what type of terrain it is, and you get your weather report for the next month, which it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that works, and it's based on the data from the world from the GREYHAWK 83 box set. So you have to tweak it a bit, but if you want something cool, you could just take it there and use it.
Right. And then, of course, we go back to the baseline, which, as we mentioned at the start, we know from even the folio that there are 2 months of winter, 6 months of summer.
Yeah,
Well,
but
in the
it's,
GREYHAWK area, right?
I was just going to say that
Okay.
that's like saying that's the case in the world or in North America. Meaning, if
But
you're in Florida or if you're in
Right.
Alberta, Canada, that's a huge difference.
we okay in the Central Flanays.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's basically warmer than we can expect,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't seem to have that accounting for the for, well, if there's a 30-degree tilt, it means at some point in the winter it's going to be 30 degrees tilted the other way.
Yeah.
So winter should be as long.
Yeah, but also remember that the words summer and winter have local varieties, meaning people in whatever area the summer there is what they describe as summer, and in some other place something else is summer or respective winter. So it's local. So if you write that from GREYHAWK, the idea of a GREYHAWK winter might be very different from one up in Ten or Pale or Theonian Peninsula or wherever it is. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would go with basically, it's not the growing season in those 2 months of winter.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
Definitely not.
that's a good analogy. Yep.
So,
And
okay. So, where do we start then? We gotta have a starting point, and then because I got some questions I want to know.
Yeah.
Because I've never, I've been campaigning for all these decades, and I
Yeah.
haven't asked some basic questions like,
Yeah.
what area is more likely to get hit with a hurricane and when?
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
there. I put one in there that you have the climate at the bottom is one that's called climate zones. If you can zoom in on
Yep.
that part
Sure.
and show that one, because that's roughly where you will have the Arctic climate, temperate climate, and tropical climate, so to speak, because
All right, let me
that might
bring
be
that up.
a very big, broad overview. And it also have the polar circle, 30 degrees north, and it's like the
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
yeah.
It's
So
only. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay.
yeah, so if zoom in on the lower part of that,
got
the upper part is the Keppen. We can get to that later. That's way more detailed. So zoom in on the bottom map there.
Uh-huh.
That's where we have the climate zone. And the basic, and I think they knew what they were doing when they said that Earth has 30 degrees actual tilt. I think that was on purpose. That was not something just someone wrote that in, because they wanted a planet with more drastic accentuate climates and season and stuff, because fantasy worlds, I think, thrive when the winters are colder, the summers are hotter. You want a bit more extreme than the real world, just to set the tone, so
Right.
to speak. And then in the real world, the polar circle is at 23 degrees and not 30 degrees or 60, and or so you have the degrees. The polar circle is a bit lower, and what
Due
gets
to the
squished.
tilt. Okay, that makes
Exactly, yeah.
sense. Okay.
So the temperate
Okay.
areas are the ones that get squished. The tropics gets bigger and the polars get bigger. And the temperate is on Earth, it's much wider, the temperate zone. On Earth, it's way squished. So that means that the Flanays sits in that band of temperate between, you have the Arctic polar area up north, and then the tropics in the south, so to speak. And thanks to the seasons, then the northern parts of the temperate area get bitter winters and really drastic summers, and so on, and down in the tropics too. So
I noticed something that I don't know if it works, and it maybe because like we got is it really that temperate this far north in the barbarian lands? I mean we have.
This is strict going by
Oh,
if you
okay,
go by the
okay,
book, so to speak.
okay,
If you go by the book, this is without putting any water and elevation and stuff like that to account. This is just pure geography. It's like in the real world. You simply say, well, the winters get dark. That's where the sun disappears in the winter, so to speak. So it get dark. So you have the polar circle. But the polar circle is very different depending on if you're in Iceland or in northern Alaska, for instance. It's a huge difference, or Greenland. It's a huge difference. If you're on the polar circle on Iceland or in Greenland, they are only 1,000 miles apart, but it's an enormous difference in climate between the two places. So
okay,
so that is something. And
okay,
in
okay.
a fantasy world, it can differ even more from one spot to another along the same line, so to speak. But another thing that we need to remember when it comes, especially when it comes to the tropics have two zones, or three rather, but two types. You have in the middle of the tropical zone around the equator, you get a wet area. That's where you have the rainforest, and you get like hot, steamy hot, and so on. And then the northern and southern end, where you get towards the temperate zone, that's where you get the desert zones
Well,
and the northern and southern parts, so
I'm
to
asking
speak.
another dumb question. Looking at this map,
Yeah.
what latitude is like Orlando?
Orlando, Florida is, what is it, like 30, almost 30 degrees north or something like that?
Is it
30.
really? No, it can't
So,
be.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a confusing thing.
Because Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, yeah,
I
Knoxville
can,
is
I can answer that
35.
in a second here.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that it's difficult to appreciate living in America.
Right,
And
right, right. That's why I'm asking that question.
okay, you have to,
28. Wow. So Orlando. See, that's what's so weird.
right.
Okay. Okay.
If you look at a global map of the world and you compare where the US is to where Europe is,
Yep.
you start to realize just how far north most of North America, most of the US really is compared to Europe.
Yeah, meaning I used to
Yeah,
live,
Europe's
I grew up where I'm born is at
Yeah.
exactly the same northern latitude as the southern tip of Greenland. That's as far north as I grew up. Where I grew up, it was exactly the north of Greenland. And where I live now is the same latitude as middle Morocco. That's
Okay.
the difference, so to speak. So North America spans north to south really, really far, so to speak. Europe is unique.
Because
Yeah.
I'm picturing spots I know. So Sassarine, which is right here, which is down here.
Yeah.
Right. Is that right? Or is it here?
Yeah, that will be
no, it's
in
here.
Mexico.
It's here.
It will
no,
be.
left.
Yeah,
It's here.
if you take that in North America, that will be somewhere in Mexico.
Yeah, or is it in the like Caymans or
it will either will be like in the Bahamas towards South America,
I'm picturing. I'm picturing.
or the northern coast of Guyana.
So then I guess
something like that.
Climate there that was shown in Savage Tide's correct.
Yeah. My general impression would be the Azure Sea is the Gulf of Mexico. And
yes, in a lot of ways.
17.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And the Medio is
it's great to have a legend like
thank where you. Is it? The hook of Mexico into the Gulf, and southern Key Land is like Texas, the Texas coast, the Louisiana coast.
Yeah.
Going over to Florida being sort of the Tilvano.
Yeah. But now we have to put something else into perspective here when it comes to the climate and stuff, because there's huge deserts in the western US, meaning here in California and Arizona, Nevada and stuff are bone dry desert. But on the eastern coast, Georgia, Texas, Florida is as far south. They're the same desert on the northern tropics, so to speak. So and the same thing here is that if you go west,
Paul's on.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Landscape's Paul, right? Right, Paul? I got in trouble last time not remembering that Stuart was on and I was the wrong person.
Yep.
So I thought so, Paul. I mean, like I said, if you want to come on, it's the same login as always.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go over your article. Absolutely.
So we have in the western part of the Flanies, you have the tropics, the northern tropics, the desert zone. That's where you have the Paynims and the all the stuff, and then you have Sea
It's
of
island.
Dust
I'm
and
putting
stuff.
it in.
Yeah.
I'm putting it in
So
whisper
so
just in case if you get.
yeah. So that is firmly in the desert zone. But on the eastern side, you
Yeah.
don't
It
have
does.
much desert climate because there is so much water. There is so much
Yeah, I
water,
put that.
and
It was
that
great
brings
that
up
one time.
moisture and
It's
stuff.
Paul.
So
Oh my
so
God.
that's
He said it
why
was-
the Tilvanots Peninsula is more like Florida than Southern California, so to speak. And it
Yeah.
works in the Flanies too. And so you have the inland areas get way drier than the further away from the ocean you are, the more drier the climate usually becomes because there's way less
But
water
there are
that is
no
carried.
deserts to be found, like besides one that's not realistic right here in this, right? Right
Yeah.
here.
There are Earth has enormous desert,
Right, but
way
not
more
up
of
here
it.
where the playing area is.
Right.
No,
There
exactly. The
probably should be
Flanies has very.
deserts all up here.
We do. Go north of the up on the same image on the northern map there.
Oh, the northern map.
Yeah, the other map up there where you have the Köppen climate.
Right.
So here you can see where I put in. So all the red areas are deserts.
But they're
They
more
are hot
tundra, aren't
desert.
they? I mean, they're not
No,
really deserts in the
No,
game.
the red zones there are
Oh,
desert.
the red. Yeah, but that's not in our play
and
area.
They are hot air. Well,
Right.
if you play in the Baklunish West, you have and so the only desert we have is
Well-
the bright desert. Yeah.
Right, but but I'm just saying, this is all tundra, right?
Yeah, that's steppe.
Steppe. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
And we can go into them in detail a little bit later if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
The thing is, and I would put this in, is that all those deserts are pretty much unnatural. The bright desert,
Yeah. Well, yeah. It makes.
Well, yeah, the bright
Rated by
desert
a
is
curse.
unnatural. Yes. Mhm.
the Sea of Dust, Rain of Colorless Fire.
Oh, they will be there.
Separate
Probably
deal.
a lot of if you put mountains around it and make it like
Classic
it's
D&D
like
reprint
the
giveaway.
Death Valley here. Very similar.
Yeah, but we know the Sul Empire was there and it wasn't a scorching desert.
That's why I had to lift it up so it was way up
Right.
there and remove the mountains. That's why I've tried to mitigate
Well,
it. Yeah. Mhm.
Lift it up and put a big ocean in the middle of it.
Yeah. The Sea of Dust isn't natural either when
Yeah.
you think about it. So.
And the dry steppes technically are not natural either. That area of the
Yeah,
Vec
all this.
Empire was used up. And
It's a high
Gygax
plateau.
described it at one place, as everything aging rapidly.
It's a high plateau like Mongolia.
Yeah, but I'd say it's even like Dark Sun. After everything's been turned into a desert by the defilers.
Mm.
That's kind of what the dry steppes is,
Peru.
and it's only slowly recovering after 1,000 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's just interesting that my point was, I don't know if it's intentional or not. It sounds like it was. They made the area that we put GREYHAWK in back in the beginning a very good weather area to play in.
That I completely agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I completely agree
Right.
with.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you take the areas
Yeah.
like the Baklunish basin in the west and stuff.
Yeah.
The way I try to solve both the Sea of Dust and the Baklunish is that the climate was different back in history,
Okay.
and for both for calamity the twin cataclysms and stuff, but there's also that helped nature on changing it, so to
Right.
speak. So that way so it was very different because look at the Sahara. Most deserts, if you can go back like 1,000,000 years or only
Oh yeah.
10,000
Sahara
years.
is
Exactly.
New.
It was
a newer
in
desert.
Roman times you could grew things in Tunisia and stuff that is
Yeah.
just pure desert today. So so things can change in only a few thousand years. So in a fantasy world where you have even more big forces that can mess up things up, you can play with these things in interesting ways for your campaign.
So,
Yeah.
I guess you do. Out here, you start to get not this area was not destroyed here, and you're getting a lot of plateau desert area out.
Well,
in the
especially
western-
south, but all of that is, and the other reason it's much drier in that part is the same thing. The western U.S. is much drier than the eastern. The mountains cut off the winds that come on this latitude far north. They it blows primarily from the east. That means
Right.
that you have the forest on the eastern side of the mountains and not the western side. But then when you go really far north, then the Udgru forest grows on the western side of the Yatils for a reason, because the winds come from, thanks to the ocean currents there, that creates the Udgru forest, so to speak. So that's
Okay.
natural too. So yeah. And if you anyone go to Google Earth and look at the map of Chile,
Yeah,
and
I
look
saw
at the
the forest.
northern part of the Chile, because there you can see this in action. You can see the northern part of the Chile, you have the desert on the western side of the Andes, and south you have the desert on the eastern side of the Andes. That's that the winds shift, that they have different bands across the planet depending on how far north and south
Well,
you are.
well, for example, in California with the Sierra Nevadas,
Mm-hmm.
those trees, it's not due to rain. They just absorb the mist in the air,
Mm-hmm.
right? They
Yeah,
soak
well,
it in.
it's both rain and, but
Yeah.
rain, it's like it doesn't rain down low. It's a,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It comes
Right.
directly from the absorb from the it just gets wet from the clouds,
Uh-oh.
so to speak. Yeah.
That word "fey," we had a little bone about that "fey" word. The Feywild and all that there,
Mm-hmm.
Paul. But that's cool. I'm
Yeah.
just being a smartass. So, all right.
And one other thing, when we
Good.
speak about the winds, one other reasons you might have things like the Felry forest and the tangles in certain areas. All of a sudden, in the middle of a plains, there might be forest.
Yeah.
One could be different elevation. It might be higher ground there, which means that trees can grow because they're up in the clouds, and the grounds get wetter and the air is wetter. That's one reason. The other reason is that if the winds blow across the rakers, then you get this wave, and a certain amount of hundreds or 1,000 miles inland, you get a down wave way often that creates different weather over that area. You can find these things in the real world too. You have certain areas that are dry because they are at a distance from the prevailing winds away from the mountains. And then you go a few hundred miles, then you have an area that gets way more rainfall because it is in that where the wave goes down again after the mountains. So yeah.
All right.
I'm
Good.
actually going to say that the fell reeve and the tangles are the result of magic.
Really?
That's
Due,
possible too.
due,
Yeah.
due to certain references in I Use the Evil.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Lake Akal in the fell reeve,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it is Neryl's Bane. There is a reference to the forest overtaking Neryl's Bane at an incredibly rapid rate in quote unquote recent history.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it's the tales are close enough that the rovers are still like, no, that we remember, our ancestors remember this happening. I think Lake Akal, like the Rift Canyon, are related to the Chaos War. They were created because of the Staff of Law blowing up, and that there's some certain extra magic in the extreme depths of Lake Akal that, when not properly moderated, have an unnatural effect on the ecosystem around it. And I think that's what causes the fell reef to grow so much.
Hmm.
You
And I
might
think,
have too many druids or not enough druids in an area that causes it. No, I'm just
well,
kidding. But meaning you can play with this in many interesting ways.
no,
Yeah.
as a
Interesting.
matter of fact, there were also druids down in the Rift Canyon,
Yeah.
down in White Plume Mountain. And again, this is ex post
Yeah.
facto stuff, but
Exactly. We have the from the White Plume Mountain.
from Return to White Plume Mountain,
Yeah.
you had a
Mm-hmm.
group of elder druids in White Plume Mountain who were killed
Yep.
when Caraptus came back.
Yep.
And perhaps they were keeping all these energies from the Chaos Wars in check. Now they're gone. Now the Tangles is suddenly growing. This is why you have Thing Gizzard Swamp by White Plume Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
How the heck is there a swamp in the middle of this prairie, this
Right.
dry desert prairie, this wasteland of the broken lands around the Rift Canyon? How is this large tangles? Well, there's an unnatural water growth effect from Lake Akal, and it's in a synergy with the Rift Canyon, and it makes stuff grow there, even when it shouldn't. And
Well,
that's why, so I think back around the
couldn't this?
migration.
I'm just going to ask and think. Couldn't this just be a hole in the ground where water has filled, like Death Valley, except it stays there?
Well, it can't.
You saw
Since
Death
it's
Valley
high
had a
up.
lake. Remember, it had a 30
Oh,
mile
yeah.
lake
Mhm.
Where are the
last
rivers
year.
secreted?
After the last ice
Yeah.
age, the Death Valley and even here was like these were tundra and full
Right. I'm
of
just
pine
curious.
forest and
I understand that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
So that could definitely be the case that it could come from there, and you can add in a lot of volcanic ash with all
All good.
sort of nasty whatever leftover sulfur
Yeah.
and all sorts of weird things mixing it up. That's why you have a weird swamp there. So yeah,
yeah,
and you make it. I'm when I model it now, I model it like way up there. So that's why the reason the water stays there
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, you get it from
It's
the
all
slopes
good.
and it
I love the
drains
discussion.
into it, so to speak. So it's
It's
yeah.
good. Definitely a good one.
Like I say, you do have the notable, the notable river coming from Lake Akal, the Retenza,
No,
and of course there's other fun
no, the
stuff there,
Akal
too.
goes east. It goes into the Artonsamai.
It's I thought, oh no, there's another river south of it. I forget the
Oh,
name of
yeah,
it.
the Ritensa starts up somewhere in the
Yeah, it doesn't
the
connect to it though. Doesn't
no,
look like on
it
this map.
goes yeah. Well, I looked at it. The Ritensa goes into the Fell Reef, the Western Fell Reef. That's where it starts, and
Yeah,
and
and
the
of course,
Artonsamai go east and flows around the Bandit Kingdoms and flows out at Radagast City.
yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the thing is, there's even another cursed place. Again from I Use the Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The Retenza only comes into that little branch. Yeah, there's another cursed place there, an orcish place with shadows, probably related to Stalker. Yeah, Sergeant doing his cross-referencing again. Um,
Which one? Here's Gnarl's Bane is here.
yeah, go south. Go south.
Oh, you have
Go
Shield.
west.
Flesh Shiver and
Yeah, over
Wormhole
here.
and stuff. Yeah.
Darkpool.
No, we have
Yes, Dark
Flesh
Pool.
Shiver and yeah, there's like a
Yeah,
whole
it
bunch
was
of them there.
yeah, it was a cursed stronghold of the orcs,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's filled with shadows and such.
Yep.
Which sounds, like I say, which sounds very much like some of Sergeant's, evil powers.
I think I think it was part of called Sergeant's innovations. Yep.
Yeah,
I don't
in
think it's
monster
mentioned before
mythology.
I use the evil. Yeah.
Well, it's mentioned in monster mythology, and then Darkpool shows up in I Use the Evil.
Mm-hmm.
So
Carl Sargent was British, right? I'm
yeah,
not
I think
accusing
it
him of
was.
anything, but isn't he just renaming the town of Blackpool in England to Darkpool?
That
no
might be.
idea. No, yeah, no idea.
What
But
do you think, Paul? I think so. Was
like
he
I
a
say,
soccer fan of Blackpool? I'm just saying. It's far Blackpool's far scarier. That's good.
Yes.
It's a cursed
Yes.
place. That's too. I got you both there. Yeah, so there you go.
That's awesome.
Ah!
Lake
Uh,
Akal has oversized creatures. So yeah, I'm thinking there's some kind of weird fertility element going there from Lake Akal, from the left over from the Chaos War, and it contributes to the Felreed being so massive, and possibly even to the Retenza arising in that little southern branch.
cool.
Mhm.
And like I say, to me, all of a sudden, looking at this is like, okay, this looks like something that can really fit together and explain some unusual things. Why are these forests there in the middle of this dry prairie?
Okay. I mean, and a lot of this we can always say magical effect or a battle or
Well,
something.
if you want to, you can always throw in some fantasy explanations like demonic incursions, deities having a war or hissy fit, or
just
whatever.
like in Lord of the Rings, the Gladden Fields, right?
Right.
You got the Defile Glades and the Vespi, which is the same difference, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will say, yeah, normally I avoid its magic hand waves like the plague.
Right.
In this case, it's like, okay, there's a little too much going on. I think I have to default to it.
Okay.
Well, you have to kind of moderate your magic incursions and your plagues, and you have to kind of
All right.
Right.
So since this is a compilation of the glossography in '68, and since Paul's on, he can comment and chat. We can. Why don't we go right to this one, because you say this is the go-to, Sam.
If you want to get something more to answer tons of questions, Yes.
Okay.
You're just going to have to go to there.
Okay. There you go.
No one else has done it. No one else has filled it in. Paul really had. Well, Anna has done some. Paul went overboard.
Well, that's good. Someone has
Extra
to.
innings. Paul went into extra innings on it.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. And I like how you say it might be the first worth explaining why. Obviously, no one needs a climate model rate runner playing adventure in the world of Greyhawk. Yeah, I'm 44 years and I haven't really thought about climate that much. I probably should a little bit more. Oh, look at this. Oh, he's coming on.
That's great.
Bingo. All right,
Fantastic.
everyone. Paul Luby Langston coming on. I'm going to throw. Look at that. And we have a picture of, it looks like a Gary picture of darkness.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have my camera, so I'm gonna do NetBot.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
fine, man.
awesome.
That works. That's awesome.
Good to
All right,
have
everyone.
you.
We got Paul Luby himself on. We're looking at his article. Paul is the author of one of my favorites of all time, Hardby. The Hardby one from Living Greyhawk that went into Dungeon Magazine. City of the Scorned. So, and a lot of other things.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I wasn't expecting to be on, so I don't have camera. I don't have
Don't
setup.
worry about it.
I have been summoned, so
Yes, you've been
I must
summoned.
appear.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking weather, and you're an expert. We're talking weather and the seasons and climate, so let's have at it, man. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll go right. Here's your article on vision. If you don't have visions, can someone link it? It's a free download, and I'm going to be a jerk and toot my own horn first. Where else can you find an article that has two authors as great as Ed Greenwood and myself in the same article? There you go. I did it. So, and that's right before Paul's, along with all sorts of other wonderful things. So let's go to Paul's now, which is right past it. And look, Tim, you're on. Look, your mongrel shield got into the Visions 3. I see the ever mysterious Tim on. There you go. You should be happy. Your mongrel shield is in the book. All right. So, Paul, how long did this take you to do? This whole article, I know it was a compilation, but you had to.
This was about a year and a bit, or maybe two, just to put from start to finish.
Wow.
From when I first started to mess around with spreadsheet. So there was like the spreadsheets had to come first, taking all that stuff out of David Axler's and the glossography. Then trying to get that into, I put in some formulas, so I was able to plug in a latitude, and I was able to get out like max min data, climate data for any given latitude, and then modify it by whether by altitude and elevation. So that allowed me to say sort of get numbers, and then I had to paint those numbers onto the map, which you'll see later on.
Cool.
And then make up sort of a plausible rainfall system, because what David Axler stuff didn't really give you a proper rainfall system, and you need rainfall as the second leg of the climate system. So you need temperature, you need rainfall.
So I see. What do you think of? And look, this is a fun discussion here. So if I say anything that's going to butt heads between you and Sam, let's have at it, right? Why not, right? What do you think of his
thought? Wouldn't be the first time.
Yes, because Sam is named a new cannon and cannon fire now, which is right, Anna. I mean, let's just have some fun with this. City of Greyhawk, is it properly placed at 35, or should it have been moved down? What are your thoughts?
It's arbitrary.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay, there you go. That's great. That's a great answer.
It was placed at 35, so I think it's.
That's a
I'm
great
going
answer.
to double check where I put it, so we can.
If you read the article, I think he was trying. I'm not going to try and explain for Axler why he placed it there, but I think he was trying to put the Flannies, like, map North America onto it, so the top of it was Labrador and the bottom of it was like Guatemala, and maybe that's where he did that. That's where Greyhawk came out. I don't know. It's he kind of goes through his whole methodology in this. This is a great read if you want to understand weather, because this is everything that went into the glossography came from here, but he adds a little more about his, his what the real world and what the methodology was.
Okay.
And like his sources, like pulling the Weather Bureau stuff for Philadelphia and things like that.
Okay.
There's a I've been trying to find Googling. There's a thing he got at like a thing called the Bulletin Almanac from 1974. You can get it for $20
The bulletin.
online.
You know what the bulletin is? The bull. If it's the bull, that used to be
Yeah.
a newspaper in Philadelphia when I was growing
So
up.
they did a thing called the
Yeah.
Almanac, and that's what where he pulled his
Wow.
numbers from. So if you can get the
74.
1974 one, like I wouldn't pay money for it, but if you can get that in a, I don't know, in a thrift shop or something, that's where David Axler got his numbers to go into GREYHAWK.
I have people I know that were part of the
In
bulletin,
libriries,
worked for the bulletin,
probably.
so I may be
Yeah.
able to. All right, I'll write that down. The Bolton Almanac 74, and see if we can find it.
It's in the appendix of this. If you go right to the end of the article, he says all the stuff that he used to pull this stuff up. Like he used like the Merck catalog and stuff for
There it is.
all
Oh,
sorts of
there
weird
it
stuff.
is. Philadelphia
Yeah,
Bolton Public.
Bulletin
Yeah,
Almanac.
Bolton was the newspaper. I think it went out of business in like the 1980.
Yeah,
Provided U.S. Weather Bureau 30-year survey for Philadelphia weather. Okay.
that's where it all comes from.
Wow. Since I live 6 miles from out the center of Philadelphia, in South
I bet
Jersey.
your libraries, your public library probably has a rusty old copy of it somewhere.
I will ask around. And so, what and Anna, please feel free because ask questions as well, and Sam as well. What stands out, good and bad, between like highlights, the glossography info and David's article info?
Same. It's the same. It's the same. Like so the way the early Dragon magazines, if you notice, after the folio came out, but before the 83 set, there's a lot of materials in those articles that then end up in the 83 set, and this is pretty much one of them. I think they basically they took all of the materials and methods, cut that out, and then just kind of put the tables here. I didn't even
realize that because this is from 82, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is where the glossography stuff comes from. I think it's all his stuff. Like now, I haven't gone and looked number for number, but I'm pretty sure it's the same sort of thing. It's the same table so far as I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think they just they stripped out all the stuff about the Philadelphia Almanac, and they just went, here's all the stuff, here's the tables, here's how that the weather should work in the Flannies.
Hopefully they compensated him for it.
I hope so.
Wow.
They gave him something.
Man. Okay, I did not know that. Did you know that, Anna? I did not know that.
I didn't know about the bulletin, but I can understand how the numbers were crunched. And one thing we have to realize that this was back in the 80s. We didn't know half of what
December
we know about the
82,
climate
yeah.
in the real world that we know today. So what is in both here and the 83 box set is fantastic for the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's very incomplete, so to speak. There is a lot of other stuff you can't. But on the other hand, you might not even need half of this for your campaign. Meaning people can run for decades without even thinking about things like weather and the climate and stuff. Yeah.
Right
so
here.
it's up to your exactly. It's about your game style and so on. You can just decide, well, today snows in my game period and whatever. So if this might be more than enough, it might not be enough. But with today's knowledge of how the real world climate works, we can do much more cool stuff with the fantasy world too. Wow. And I think it's two sides to it. Meaning, first, how much stuff do you want to work in, and also how do you want them to present it to be used in a campaign, so to speak. It needs to be digestible for the DM at the end. That's the part where I'm now starting to figure out what I want to do with my climate model, so to speak, in order to present it in a way that can be actually useful. And one of the services I want to start is I want to have a GREYHAWK weather service, like once a month or so, to put forecasts from different parts and put weather charts. That's one of the things I want to use GIS for, so I can have symbols and stuff, so it doesn't require that much drawing. It can be generated, so to speak. So I can use my climate model to simply say, well, the weather in Bradgast City will be this for the coming month or something. something, and then you can tie that into your campaign, and you can use it or something. So yeah,
Okay.
but that was just
It's cool.
ideas. Yeah.
Because that finish site that you linked, it gives you a spot. It does a random thing. There's no way to build,
Yeah.
a model out of it. It's perfect for GMs. It's like, I just want the weather in
Yeah.
Siltaran. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
put in my latitude,
Yeah.
put
But
in my
for world
thing,
building, you want to know where do they grow stuff? What do they grow?
Well.
And where do they go and hunt for
Well.
whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta understand.
See, there you go.
Anna's got to dot every I and cross every
I,
T.
I,
Oh,
Yeah.
no. But if
Yeah, I
you
was
if
just
you've been
going to say
noticing the stuff I've been posting
Yeah.
on Cannon Fire,
Yeah.
I've been doing that. That's
Yes.
I didn't stop with the weather. Let's put it that
Exactly.
way.
Yeah.
I was looking for a chance to put that plug in. Yeah, Paul's got all the crop stuff coming. I think in another Visions article soon, or well,
So
relatively
there's
soon.
there's no one wanted to hear about where the oats and the wheat grows. Everyone wanted to know where the wine. You can blame
Sure.
Aussie Paul Arthurn for that. He was like, "Where's the wine, Paul?" So next Visions, the one after the Underdark, it's
So
Vices
Vision,
and Spices of the Flannies is
Oh,
coming out.
beautiful.
Yep.
So it's got the famous wine map is going to be in that. You're going to know where all your wines grow in the
Well,
Flannies.
I want to know where I can
But-
get chocolate. That's my thing.
That
I want to
is
know that.
included.
Oh,
That is
good.
included.
Then it will be.
Chocolate,
give my
sugar,
blessing. Yep.
all the
Chocolate
good
better-
stuff.
and vanilla.
Paul,
and
you better
stuff.
have
Yeah.
my kumquat trees in there.
Yeah.
And don't forget.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did. I looked at citrus. It's not in that article, but it's in another. It's in another
Okay.
part.
What is citrus?
Citrus does work in it perfectly for Altamira.
Yeah.
So
And,
climate approved. Thumbs up.
Thank
for
you.
kumquats.
Awesome.
and don't
Kumquat
forget-
approved.
Yeah.
That's good.
Official canon.
You also have
So-
that special new Flanace plant added with me.
Correct.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
I
The
don't. So I have
crossway.
that. We have to discuss where we're going to actually publish that, because I put the crops out on my own website. I should do a plug. I should put it
Yeah,
in
you
the
can always do
chat.
that. Plugging's always fun.
I'll put that in the chat once I figure out all my screens here. But that's got all of the main cereal crops and where they grow based on the climate model. So I put that out a few weeks ago, but I'll plug it again. Let me just
Yeah, please
have
do.
to figure out my screens.
Take your time.
So that shows where all of the main crops are, and then I've got to follow up with like fruit and veg, legumes, and things like that. That has the citrus and olives and things like that, apples, pears, that kind of stuff. And then textiles. So like, where does hemp grow? Where does flax grow? Where does
Oh,
jute,
wow.
cotton, where all of that stuff grows? The main sort of textile crops. They're probably not exciting enough to put into Visions, and it might take years to get them all out in Visions. So I'm just going to put them all out on my those ones on my website, and then we've got the Vices and Spices with the wines coming in Visions.
Oh,
Okay.
I think the one after the other. And then Sam, what we were going to talk about was the frost wheat,
yeah.
which we're going to break off and put somewhere. I don't know if we're going to put it in Grimoires or in
That's
Visions,
fantastic.
but let's give that its own feature. It's something me, Sam, Arthur, and Sagila, if I'm pronouncing his name right, sort of
Jim
cooked up
Segia.
on.
Yeah.
We just cooked it up on
That's great.
Discord.
Yeah,
Evening.
because Paul was saying, what won't grow in Blackmore in terms of grains, and I said, okay, we'll have to make up a Greyhawk specific plant, and then we just kind of got out of control.
It got jazzy. Yeah, we were riffing.
So why? I'm digging into this, and let's if you don't mind, let's go over here. I'm curious. So wind direction on and this is during Fire Seek, right? Is that air mass movement?
So one of the other weird things about the Flannies, that Flannies weather article, is like the prevailing winds, unless it's a typo, and I don't know if it is. He says that the prevailing winds go from the north and northeast in winter to the south and southeast in summer. And if that's the prevailing winds, that's weird, because in
Right.
on the Earth, yeah, you do have northeasterlies up in the polar region, but once you get below into the mid latitudes, you got southwesterlies. That's why we
Yeah.
get in Ireland, we get all of our weather off the Atlantic because they're on the prevailing southwesterlies.
And you
So
have the bands. I think it's like, what
exactly.
is it, like 4 or 5 bands on four? I think it's
Yeah, the
4 or
different
something.
cells.
Yeah,
You got
on north and
the
south.
polar,
And
you
yeah,
got the
but the
temperate, then you got the trade winds, and
yeah,
but the
high
if we take
mountains change when you have high
disrupt
mountains,
them,
they
yeah,
disrupt them. So yeah, they,
yeah,
especially like the Rockies, Himalayas, the
Destroying
Alps,
fire
and
seed.
stuff like that,
but
they funnel them and change them.
Destroying
Yeah.
reaping. Yeah.
so so that's where so I interpreted that as okay, this is okay, the Earth is different to Earth.
Hmm.
We've got something different going on here. We've got these
Mhm.
prevailing winds coming in from the sort of the mid latitudes and the tropics that are coming in from the southeast.
Yeah.
Now that is good for the Flannies because that brings all of that moist air in off the Solnor Ocean and the Azier Sea and brings it up in summer. It brings it up over the Flannies, and that's why the Flannies is probably so green because you've got all of this moisture coming up out
Okay.
of warm seas. It's going up into the atmosphere. It's falling as rain.
Well,
Um,
the winds, if they bring moisture or dry, it depends on where they come from. If
yeah.
they come
So they're
from
coming.
an
They're
area
com
with water and they are
yeah.
warm, then bring a lot of moisture. Cold
Hmm.
winds, take California, it comes from the
Yeah.
cold, and the water comes from the cold. So that means that the air are dry, but in Florida it's the other way around. They come
Hmm.
warmth with a lot of humidity. So yeah.
Yeah.
So um, from this, I weaned the. See if I get this right, because I'm the one on the catastrophic. Because of this map here,
Uh-huh.
this it's just Sam's right. It's like the Gulf of Mexico. You're going to get storms forming here, and they're going to run right into
Correct.
the land. All right, and
Yeah.
actually out in well,
Out in the Solnor, yeah. And
right,
there's
right.
mention of Hurricane Ivid it hit Medeja and
Hmm.
hit
Hurricane
that.
Ivid. That's it.
You
Yeah,
will have
that would
the
make sense. It would be like
yeah.
almost like South
Makes perfect
Carolina.
sense.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
okay.
Makes
Jay
perfect
I
sense.
put in Discord. I put my version of the winds across the earth. That same idea taken
If I crash the
from.
stream, it's your fault, Anna.
Oh yeah, it's my fault. Oh, it's my fault. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I
I
gotta
When
I gotta
Josh is
open
not
this
around,
up.
it's my fault. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was funny.
I
That
would
was
add is that
I can just
Yeah.
bring it up like this and not see
Yeah.
it. So
There you have it.
yeah,
And red arrows for warm air and blue for cold. And that's how it works. And this is just modeling. And then you combine the winds like this with the ocean currents. And the winds also drive the ocean currents. So that's one of the things that drive the ocean currents. So you have to combine the two. So we spent like a week, 5, 6 people, and we were kind of modeling this back and forth to make it work. And because I explained what the story was and made like a crude climate map saying that this according to the stories of the game. So we kind of tweaked it hard, but we didn't have to change much. It was actually fairly straightforward. So it's not that you don't need much magic to explain the climate of the Flannies. So it's actually
okay.
fairly spot on. Yeah, a few things changed, but not much at all. And the mountains do some stuff too. So there you have it. That it's
So
why you can have it. Yeah,
so going off of this area, Fireland then is like Iceland, where it has
exactly.
warm climate. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and it would have
All right.
very humid and stuff too.
Okay.
So it will be like Iceland, a lot of
Okay.
rain, like a colder Ireland, so to speak. It will
Okay.
be
Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
All right.
I would also note that going off of the Azure Sea storms, Woolly Bay and Relmore Bay are noted for their storms.
Right.
They
Right.
are particularly rough weather there. And so
Thanks, Rob.
obviously any of the storms forming on the Azure Sea must be strong enough to push up into those bays.
But
Okay.
you also have Woolly Bay. That makes sense because if you have a magically induced desert that is both hotter and drier on one side,
Yeah.
and you have much more humid, temperate saline on the other side, that will drive a lot of bad weather, so to speak, due to meaning you put forces in there. That will be like having a huge fire or something like that. It's a phenomena that drives its own weather. And that makes perfect sense to have the Woolly Bays unnaturally full of tough weather because you have these contrasts that are unnatural, so to speak. It's like a mountain chain, and all of a sudden you remove it and you have cold water and hot water, like around the Good Hope and the Cape Horn, so to speak, where you have water coming from two oceans and they meet. They create a lot of weird, interesting weather. And the Woolly Bay can have the same type of phenomena due to the bright desert being magically turned into a desert.
All right, so I mean, this map is limited on location, right? I'm trying to move. Can't move it up and down. What the heck is going on here? All right, well, so what's the most dangerous place in the Flanaess for that, like a Cape of Good Hope? Is it coming around the tip of the Pomars, or is it
I
here?
would have
Is it right here? Is it right here?
No, my
No?
guess would be where the worst weathers can be, the worst hurricanes and stuff would be the southeast part, like
Over here?
Lindor Isles. I would have
Yeah, okay.
the Lordship of the Isles
Right, that
and
makes sense.
that coast. That will be like the Bahamas, where you have hurricane seasons and stuff.
So they
weather
run
like
out
that.
from here and run up. Right,
Exactly.
Okay.
Comes, yeah,
Okay.
because I put in a warm ocean current, just like it's coming from tropical waters. You have winds going and the interesting thing is you have winds that goes this way coming from the northeast that are dry and cold,
Okay.
but then you have the waters coming in and that
So
creates
you can see that here. Yeah.
exactly, and it creates the on and off.
All right.
On and off, so you have the contrast between warm water coming from the tropics, cold air coming from the north, and that means that it will kind of puff up storms now and then, so to speak, especially when there's huge differences in the contrast between, like especially in the spring and stuff, or when you have cold air and really cold air in the north and the tropics are a lot hotter, so to speak. The fall is a lot more even, so to speak, because then it's when you have big contrast between cold and hot, that's where you get storms. And the other
Also
area
means,
yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. No, please.
No, I was gonna that phenomenon up there on that east coast means like North Province probably gets a lot of sea effect, snow and
Yes.
rain.
Right, it's up here.
Like along Bellport and Catport Bay and Atir and places like that.
They are like Oregon and stuff. You have like temperate cold rainforest up there. I put that in my climate model too, that you have
further north, yeah, you do. Yeah. Ratic.
Exactly.
North
that's
Province is actually surprisingly warm. It's more like Virginia, in terms if you look at the latitude and
at the
and the
coast,
climate.
and then it gets quicker colder when you move away from the coast, because it's like in
the heating effect.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in Scandinavia. Norway is way warmer than Finland, and then you move into Russia, it gets progressively colder the further east you go. So, but another area that will have severe bad weather is up north. It's like the roaring 60s on Earth. Some of the worst hurricanes, apart from the ones that are in the tropics, are far north and far south. So northern Atlantic and the southern oceans have, apart from the occasional hurricanes that you get in the tropics or like Bahamas and stuff, and over the Pacific, up north and south you have not as strong, but they are more persistent and they are almost as strong. So you can have on the northern ICC and around the Thelonian and stuff, there you can have a lot of storms, especially in the fall, because that's when the Arctic is cooling off and the lower latitudes are still warm. That's when you get that really nasty combination. And also in the spring, not so much, but we also have the difference when it's heating up in the south and still cold in the north. You get severe storms. It's the contrast between the cold and the warm, so to speak, that drives it.
I think Grendef Bay is somewhat noted for storms.
Yeah.
I know there are mentions of the
but ICC, no one is there to notice them, so to speak.
The ICC massive icebergs. For another place for the tropical storms, I think the Oman Isles get blasted pretty harshly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here too.
And
but what I'm saying, the little bit of a difference is that the Azure Sea is a little bit shielded. The big ocean brings even more of it, so to speak. It's like Mexico has less, meaning the Bahamas have more storms than Florida than Mexico has.
Mexico gets them on the west coast.
Exactly.
The Azure Sea is stormy, but the worst effects spend themselves on the Oman Isles. So you still have the storms on the Azure Sea, but they'd probably only be tropical storm level.
Exactly. They're not as
Okay.
probably
Okay.
not
I
as
think
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Careful.
think it depends. I think you could get big hurricanes slamming into, and I think that the Kiowish coast is.
Oh yeah, I
gonna
think they
get
would
it.
Oh yeah,
form in
that could
Asia
be.
and
Oh
go
yeah,
right
it's
up.
big
Yeah,
enough
absolutely.
that you could
Yeah,
definitely
this-
get some.
There's
Yeah.
still some, I just think the Oman Island slightly moderates it.
Yeah, the almond you got a slot there. The almonds might take like if you look at hurricanes. I'm one of these nerds that looks at the National Hurricane Service.
Please.
So
Yeah.
the islands that you in the Caribbean they'll knock a little bit out of a hurricane, but I think you got something that's
Not
coming up through the
much.
Densec Gulf. It's going to get a little bit the wind knocked out of it
And it's
literally,
gonna
and then
pick
once
up.
it gets into the Asia Sea, it's going to pick up again and get carted up
Yeah.
into into those southern coasts. And I think the Keoland to Pomar sort of coast there is where the prevailing winds are going to drive it from the Asia Sea. The
Yeah.
on-wall across Tenerife side is probably a little sheltered because even if and that's where if
Because the
you've
winds,
got a
yeah.
hurricane coming off the Aljet, you know, the lordship of the Isles actually protects that coast, say Dullstrand, from getting too badly nailed. Air
Yep.
DC, I think you'll
Mhm.
get some
You have
re-intensification
like a
going into
chain of islands there.
Madeira.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll knock some wind out of it, but
Mm-hmm.
you're still going to get some bad storms, I think, along that coast.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I've been a pilot for decades and been so into weather and looking at weather forecasts and stuff, and then do it for a fantasy world.
Yeah,
It's
as long
awesome.
as no one's getting
Yeah,
hurt
this-
in a fantasy setting.
exactly. This is
Yeah.
fun. This is awesome fun.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Here's my question to all of you. During, let's just say, during the winter months, give me the furthest south you could see a major winter blizzard hit. Is the Pomar susceptible to a snowstorm, or is that like Florida? Like, and
Look
it's
in
not
your
happening?
Discord. I put a map
Oh,
in there. For you.
Anna, you're
Also,
gonna.
I put one yesterday, so you already had it.
Oh,
so,
but then I already brought it up. I have it.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
it. Then.
the
Hold on.
Anna's map because I think I cover. Well, I don't cover that exactly, but you can
I
get
I
some.
made
This?
one because you asked me. No, that one is, but there's another one.
Oh, I got it.
That one, yes. I
Ah.
made one here where we have a rough estimate of where you can find hard winters and soft winters, so to speak.
All right,
Hard
so the
winters
whole Lord
meaning,
Mills is good.
oh yeah, that's due to elevation. so
Right,
to
but
speak.
still, it comes off
Yeah,
the.
and with hard winter,
the
I
Sierra
mean,
Nevadas.
yeah, meaning hard winter, I mean you can expect continuous, prolonged snow and a lot of water's frozen over, so to speak, in winter. Meaning you have real winter. Soft winter is when you have you can have a few days or a week or so on, but snow is not expected all the time. It comes and goes during winter time, so to speak. So that's the kind of just the basic assumption between.
So
That's
next,
pretty similar. That's
got-
pretty similar to what I got.
Yeah.
If you look in
I'm going.
Visions, there's
Yeah,
a map
Yep.
that has the Fire Seek. If you scroll up,
Up. Okay.
back up, we got the winter. Keep going. That's the summer. Next one. There we go.
Yep.
So that's the mean monthly temperature in Fire Seek. So anywhere where that's blue has got a mean monthly temperature. The mean temperature is below zero. So that's that I think corresponds pretty much what
Yeah,
you're
that would
saying.
be to
It's gonna
hard
be
winter.
cold and
Yeah,
frozen. It's hard.
Yep.
And it's pretty much the same place. I think the only place that we differ is over there in North Province, because I think North Province is getting that warm current, and that is moderating the climate.
So you got a
over
little more
North
green up
Province.
here.
Well, one of
Yeah.
the
Make Dale
things we
happy.
when we discussed it was that when you have so much actual tilt, then it cools off so much in the winter that you have the effect is that it localizes it. So the water, it doesn't warm it up. Land cools off so much in the winter
don't.
that you get like a coastal effect that is really severe in winter. So you could be by the coast and you hardly see snow, and then you go 100
Sam.
miles inland and
Right.
it's.
Do you have a link to Visions 3? Download.
Yep, pop in
should-
the link for the
Yeah,
up
Baker,
again.
everyone, there it is. Just it's free. You got great articles.
Absolutely free.
Paul's this whole thing's in here. As Sam
Yeah.
said, this is where you want to go. This updates Glossography, which I didn't realize was Dragon 68, just Pilfered.
Mhm.
So this is where you want to go. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Sam.
So yeah, so I think Greyhawk gets a little bit of snow, but not so much. I think. Well, let's see your map again.
And
Because
let me
there
get
is mention in the player's guide of
in
like
one second.
I think there's actually a beautiful illustration in the player's guide to Greyhawk of kids in Greyhawk City playing snowball fights. So I think you would get
A little
snow
bit here,
in.
yeah, a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
there you'd
Coming
get
off the
exactly.
just a
near
little bit of
Eve,
snow.
right? Lake effect snow.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah,
get like the occasional snowy days, so to speak. A few snowy days,
El
and it freezes over.
Elmshire.
Yeah, but
Elmshire
it's
would get nailed
Well,
with
I'm sure gets nailed with everything else, Paul. Right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
what's in the
It would get like effect snow because the winds are northeasterly. You got the lake there.
Hmm.
It's just going to be those little
cold?
Yeah,
guys are going to be buried in snow.
yeah.
Plus, it's going to be cold at night there too, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, freezing.
But
Yeah,
this is
Really cold.
snow staying over daytime
Yeah.
temperature. If you
yeah.
have snowfall
Hmm.
during the day, so to speak, and that
Yeah.
that is severe enough that it will cover it, will look white, so to speak.
How are we
I
supposed to
put.
account for the fact that the Earth has long summers and short winters? We were talking about that earlier, Rick, so you missed that because the 30-degree tilt.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's not
which
23, it's
makes it
30.
more interesting
Yeah,
because the winters will get way more brutal
yeah,
for longer. So the contrast is higher. So the temperate areas are squished. The tropics get bigger and
yeah,
the polar regions gets bigger. So
yeah.
I put a link to my website where you have
Yep.
the my Earth articles. I put them together on one big page, so to speak. So you can find a lot of and these are just early models. I started playing with this because I wanted to wrap my head around it. So
Yeah.
I'm working on Model 2 now, and I will probably need to go to Model 3 before I can get really good, so to speak. So yeah.
So, okay, that's the bottom part of the Cairn Hills into the
That's the
Aberals there.
Aberals, exactly.
Aberals.
Yeah.
Aberals,
They will
yeah.
get
Yeah.
like up
All
in the
right.
highlands there. You will
I
have
like
more
white
like hard
plume. It's got to
winters.
have white on it. Yeah, white
Exactly.
plume.
There's an area that is so high up
What
there
is
that
that?
that's good that you ask. I put that in on purpose. That's my saying that the elves that live up there, they
On the
kept
in the high fall.
they exactly north of High Folk up there in the heartlands up there, they keep the climate artificially warm because that's a place where they actually
Interesting.
they survive there through the ice age even. So
And
yeah.
that's mentioned in the article that
Hmm.
in the
Yep.
weather article and in the glossography that the
Yep.
temperate forests are more temperate than they maybe should be because of the
Yep.
effects of fairy,
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
capital
So
F
that
fairy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I put that in. There
Huh.
should probably be a bit bigger area that is
No,
kind
that's
of
okay. I mean,
so large part of Vesvi is warmer, have a
we see
more
that here too.
pleasant climate. So yeah.
Isn't
Yeah,
this
that's
where?
that's
Yeah,
the Glorioles or
yeah.
the
The
whatever they
the
has like
Hestmark Peak.
They changed the name
yeah,
of the Glorioles, right?
exactly.
The
I can understand
Glorioles.
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
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 I
Ah,
like the
Yeah.
Glorioles.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that they will I think that, yeah, the peaks there are probably they're high up enough to have snow almost all year round and the areas around it will have
I
yeah.
I think the high peaks might. I think
Yeah.
they're green mountains though in general. I think they'll
They're
get
like Southern
winter snow.
California. They're like 3-4 months of the year they have
Mm.
significant amount of snow and then it kind of tapers off. So yeah.
All right,
I
go ahead, Sam. Yeah.
I was gonna say I would sort of go back to what you had said way towards the beginning that the Flanays, all the weather is set up to be really prime for adventure.
Hmm.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, it's not
Get
really
ourselves like
exciting to think
uphill.
about, slogging uphill through the snow both ways to
The
get to
current.
the dungeon.
Yeah,
There's-
it's something you don't have to worry about when you're starting. That's
No,
the thing.
exactly. That's why we can talk about this now and not in a couple of weeks or like a couple of months. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's something. Yeah, it's
yeah, so
yeah.
This
I-
is
I-
for
Doesn't
world building nerds.
This is for
Yeah,
deep dives. Yeah.
Hmm.
Go
but
ahead,
it
Paul.
does it says a lot about the sort of the mindset of the guys back at the start that they did that David Axler, I don't know who he is,
Yeah.
but he went and he did this
Hmm.
for this fictional world because it was important
Yeah.
for him to know. And I assume for Gary and all the rest of them
Yeah.
to
I
have
love
that
it.
sort of simulationist mindset that they were going to
Hmm.
like, okay, well, what's the weather like? And
Yeah.
where do we get sunburn? And
Hmm.
like that article goes into all the weather hazards, and it's really cool. I mean, you don't need any of it, but
No,
I
but
just love the kind of the excess of it all is
yeah,
really
if
kind of
you run a
beautiful.
hex crawl across the country or something, you need it. And if you're
Perfect
going
for
to
that
Sea
kind
of
of stuff.
Dust or whatever, yeah, meaning that's when
But
you
you could
oh,
you
seaborne
don't need
adventures.
to go to that level of detail, but they did, and I love it.
All
Yeah,
right,
me too.
here
Yep.
comes my next question for all of you. I'm going to go to the reaping map here because it's,
Good questions, Jay. I
All
love
right,
them.
you ready for
Yep.
this?
Mm.
I'm assuming where the orange and the pink meet is the band of tornadoes during thunderstorms. Is that correct? The main band, and it goes on either side of that. Am I wrong or am I correct? Where you're gonna just like the central part of Kansas and
Now
all.
we're coming into interesting.
I assume so.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
but
I don't know enough about tornadoes because we don't
I
get them.
can I
right,
can
but we
answer
can.
a little bit. I know
Okay,
a little bit more about and the interesting thing is that they are created. You need thermals, and as a glider pilot and instructor for
right,
decades, I know a lot about thermals and how these things develop, so to speak. And they come from thermals, meaning when the sun shines over an area, certain areas get warmed up more than others. And that the air, so wind, we normally think of it when we are creatures, we walk around, we think of wind as something that blows horizontally. Air comes from somewhere and it blows across as it disappears. But wind is also vertical. So the weather is as much vertical as it is horizontal. And so when the sun shines on something like a lot of rooftops in a city or something, that creates updraft. The hot air lifts up like boiling
right.
bubbles in a
It
in a
means colder air.
exactly, and colder air rush in, so to speak. So some
Mhm.
areas have sinking air and some of them have
Right,
rising
and
air.
that's why I put it between the two bands here.
Yeah. And
Right?
that can
Yeah,
happen
yeah,
anywhere where you have sun shining on it, that you
yeah.
get temperature
Okay.
differences. But in some areas, it happens more than in others. And you need areas that have not that much horizontal wind, because if you have areas that, so coasts don't get them.
Right.
Because coast when you
Because you
have
got
hot
airflow on
sun,
the up and down coast.
exactly,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you get
we-
that coastal breeze
yeah.
coming. So when the sun shines over an area that has near the coast, you get like a constant wind going in, and that kills off the thermals, usually often for
You
hundreds
can
of
make it.
miles
You can get
inland.
water spouts sometimes, but that's it.
Exactly, but yeah, but they are small little things that are
Yeah.
different in that sense. But these things that, so you need a lot of inland areas, so to speak, open, not too many mountains, because you want air to flow from cooler areas and hotter areas, and then you have the Earth rotation makes these things start rotating, and
Right.
once
And
they reach a certain, and what the
there's
second thing that needs to happen is that when you create small cumulus clouds that we glider pilots love, and
right.
the air goes up, but once they become big enough, then when the air comes up, the water evaporates into water vapor, and that releases air energy. So that means that the air inside the clouds will get warmer just by this effect. So it becomes a self-perpetuating system. It builds more and more of itself. So it sucks in more and more air, and then you eventually get a tornado effect with the Earth rotation, and that builds
Uh,
systems. You need
and you don't get them
inland
near mountain
area.
ranges either
Yeah,
because of the air flow.
exactly. That's why you get them out in the plains where
So we're
you're away from
talking
the sun. Yeah,
here. Ernst, Nyrond, Almore, Great
yeah.
Kingdom, North Province. Along here would be the
Well,
number one
North
bands.
Province is, then you're getting
No.
close to the ocean. You have the Rakers and stuff. So I would
All
say
right.
that
So here, right here,
And
Ernst,
maybe parts of
Almore.
Furiundi and Ernst are
Okay.
probably
All right. Okay.
probably the best areas. But on the other hand, the whole of the Flanese has so much water around it that it's more like Europe. In Europe, you don't get tornadoes and anything like you get in the US.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say that tornadoes is probably something that you have less likely in the Flanese than you have. Flanese is more like Europe and less like the US. It's bigger than Europe in area, so you probably have more of them than Europe, but Europe, it's not a problem. But go east into Russia and stuff, there you start having them, because then you're far away from the oceans and it's a lot of flat areas where the sun shines on, like you have in the and North America has most of them, because the southern part of the world, it's Africa and Australia that might have them, but otherwise South America is not doesn't have that many.
Yeah, the U.S.
open
has the most tornadoes by far.
Exactly, because it's the geography that it's the latitude and a lot of open space, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, so darling, great. Thank you for the compliment. So,
I'm sorry about the
no, this
going
is
into
that's
the,
awesome.
yeah.
I want an explanation.
Yeah.
And thank you, Paul and Sam, for participating in this. We are the plan is we're deep diving much as we can until the new DM's guide comes out, because the rush is going to come then.
Yeah.
Because the GREYHAWK stuff's in there and people are going to go, where do I need to go? We're going to go back to entry. We're going to do a lot of basic stuff back at them. You may be bored a little bit with the Legends of Lores in November, December. When just to give you a little update there. But
thank you, darling.
Yeah. So, Sam, Paul, any input on that as far as, do you have thunderstorms in Europe? I mean, bad ones?
Oh yes, we do, but we don't get the big tornadoes
Okay.
like here.
Don't
But
tend to get tornadoes. That's the thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we get really bad thunderstorms.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
enormous ones, just like here. Yeah.
It was maybe 15 years
Yes,
ago.
Dungeons, welcome.
15 years ago, I saw a small dust devil forming in a vacant lot over here in Co-op City.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was shy. I stopped and I'm staring at it. It got up to about 4 or 5 stories high. That's about it. But there's a little dust devil forming. I'm like, what the? I know what that is, but why is it here?
Because they can form over water too, but then it normally needs to be really hot water, like the tropics or like Mediterranean or something. They don't.
I've seen them in the Med.
Yeah, exactly. They form over when the water gets so warm that it becomes like hurricane water, so to speak. When the water goes about like 30 degrees Celsius or something like that, then you can create and the other phenomena that it ties into is that clouds, when they form over water, that means that some areas get cooler and some of them get hotter, and that drives what they call convection thermals, and that can drive it. So you can get it, but then it's over tropical waters. Like when you fly an airline or you fly to Hawaii, the water is the air is really choppy. And then you fly to Alaska and it's all smooth sailing for the most part. And that's because tropical air has way more of this up and down draft, so to speak, because the sun doesn't shine as intense in this. It's only the summer months. Then you get all sorts of cool stuff happening up north or close to the polar. I mean, we could do glider flying in Norway and Sweden in the summer, but the winter we're dull and we have to go somewhere else.
So we know now where a hurricane will hit in GREYHAWK.
Yeah.
We know now where tornadoes may hit in GREYHAWK based on your wind charts, Paul's charts.
Yeah. But I would have them less likely. But on the other hand, magic.
All right, I'm gonna go
a powerful druid spell.
I'm gonna
or something.
I'm Mr. Calamity here.
Yeah.
There are no fault lines that we know of, but there should be. Where would an earthquake hit in this area, and where would a tsunami come off of it?
Yeomanry.
Okay.
I think you got a lot of volcanism down there, so even if there's no fault lines, let's say there's no fault lines.
Right.
I don't know. That's
okay.
We don't know if there's fault.
Well,
lines.
we know the whole.
You've got.
Paul,
you got the hell furnaces.
They dropped the whole. Remember, they put a fissure right smack dab in the middle of all of Yeomanry, didn't they? During Living GREYHAWK.
They did, yeah. There was an escarpment, so they went
right.
Yeah,
it was
across
it. Absolutely.
And so I think you'd have a lot of earthquake activity in the Yeomanry and the Sea Princes. And Sea Princes, you might get tsunamis, like off Jekyll Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Give me just a moment, because, well, we have an article on that in the Grey Grimoire 3.
No way, really?
Cool.
Oh, that's who wrote it?
I'm trying. It is who wrote it? Oy vey. Because of course I can't find it.
That's okay. That's okay. When's that coming out?
It's by Matthew Melman.
Okay.
And I have to harass the Norther.
I know it's not kind of weather related, but we're on the disaster.
This is scale tectonics of the Flanays. And
cool. Nice sneak peek.
It is out. We actually released it with a whole bunch of other stuff, and I just have to find it
Well,
because I can't find anything,
okay.
and now I have it. And let me pop the link. So yeah, we came out a little bit after Visions 3, but there you go. Why does that say the Great Grimoire 1?
At the website. Yeah, no, I've got the website up. That's just the domain.
Okay, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the Great Grimoire issue 3. And Scale Tectonics by Matthew Melman, whose Twitch ID I'm completely blanking on naturally.
Okay.
And he goes all about the plate tectonics of the Flanays.
Awesome. Yep.
Although he presents them as the scales of a great dragon. So if you want to know where the earthquakes are, read that issue.
All right. Cool. Wait a minute. So this just came out. Where's Norker asking me to discuss it?
I keep missing a chance to nag you about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we'll figure something out then. We'll figure something out after the show. All right. So, very cool. Well, look at that. I asked the right questions. Okay. Paul, what cool thing that we missed so far that's in your article? There's got to be something like wow.
What have we discussed? Okay. So I mean, the article goes beyond just weather. The weather's the is the layup.
Right.
We haven't talked about rainfall.
Right. That's it. That's it. Yeah, definitely.
So
precipitation.
I mean,
Yep.
and I had to kind of stick this together. This is a jury rigged. So that's why I was talking about air masses, trying to figure out the
Right.
air masses. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So and then you also have to take into account things like the topography and then the distance from the sea, because the sea is where all the moisture comes from.
Okay.
Yeah,
your
you have to
rainfall.
take the sea currents will play a huge
The
role
sea
to it.
currents,
Yep.
even just distance from the sea. If you look at North
Mhm.
America,
Yep.
the south and the east are very green, but then as you get into the Midwest, it gets drier and drier and drier until you hit the Rockies, and then obviously you get the Great Desert
Yep.
in the Rockies
Mhm.
and all that. And I think the Flanaess probably works very similarly because it's modeled on North America. So this is what this map is. This is the rainfall.
There we go. Okay. Hey,
So
Stronghold Tim.
so I kind of blotched together some numbers and I put them on the map, and they kind of come out like this. So yellow is less rain, dark purple to blue is more rain, and the thing that jumps out from this is the big empires, the big kingdoms are the places where the rain is at.
Oh
So you
yeah,
got the
you
Great
need
Kingdom has
enough.
a lot of rain. You got
Keelands.
Keoland, the core of Keoland,
Mhm.
and then like once you get up into actually this is a cool feature that I discovered by putting these numbers on here. If you look up into the Falls Gap, up into Grand March and Bissell,
Mm-hmm. Up here.
um, there's a dry area right there along the east side of the Lort Mills. I think there's a kind of a semi-arid area that runs along the Lort Mills up into the Falls Gap, and it's the perfect sort of place for nomads to come roaring through. And maybe that's why they were able to sort of penetrate in there. And Bissell is this sort of
Oh, the Kedites came. That's why
yeah, the
Thornworth's been
Kedites and the
taken over
Brazen
multiple
Horde and
times.
all those guys, like we were
Yeah.
talking about, Sam. I think there's something in here that this is kind of part of the reason why they were like, hey, this is just like what's on the other side of the gap,
We'll ask that question when
and
she
they were
comes.
able to make inroads in there.
So
So
is
yeah,
that?
things get.
I'm sorry. Is that
Go,
area
go
like?
ahead.
Is that area like spots in Chile which never get rain, or is it just?
It's drier.
No.
It's like a rain shadow.
Okay.
So
Okay.
help me out, Anna. Where's there a good example of a rain shadow?
Well,
Like
I live
Chile
in one.
is.
Western
Yeah,
US
Yeah.
is a good example.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
people in that's why you
Okay.
have Utah and Nevada are way drier than on the
Okay.
eastern side, so to speak.
Parts of Norca was talking about this, parts of inland like Washington and Oregon,
Exactly. There
The
you have
Badlands in
the,
Washington,
but they are
right?
not
But,
a
I
range
got it.
shadow per se. There you the
Yeah.
difference between coastal and inland climate. That's
There
a
you
little
go.
bit different from a
Okay.
range
Okay.
shadow, but it's the same type of
Similar thing.
phenomena. It's just
Rockies
that
and
they
the
are caused
Dakotas.
by
Got
different.
it. Okay.
Same things can be caused by different
So,
reasons, so to speak.
and another, so one other cool suggestion I have here is that I think, yeah, this is my proposal, and I know people will disagree with me. Olives, olives kind of need a dry Mediterranean type climate. You don't, when I model this out and later on in this article,
Right there.
the climate areas, we don't really get Mediterranean using David Axler's numbers, except in the plains of the Paynims and a little bit in this part of the Flanaess up here in Bissell. So
Yeah.
that little strip, it might be the only place where olives grow
I like the
in the
Elven lands of the
Flanaess.
Duchy of Ulick right here.
Yep.
That would be a spot that I would do it too. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
all. I could
and
see
you've got
them.
you've got a little dry spot in there because of the rain shadow there
Yeah,
too.
I think that would be
So
cool too, right there.
That if you look at my Kippen map, I have way more Mediterranean in the
yeah,
Flanaess because
yeah.
Flanaess is very much located where Southern Europe is and has a lot of water, so very similar.
Yeah.
But please carry on. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
great.
And
Yeah.
we actually I did a Coppen map, so we can
Yeah.
do a side by
Comparison.
side.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
if we keep scrolling,
Yep, sure.
with
And I did a very simplified Kippen map.
there
Kippen
we
has
go.
like over 20 different.
This
Yo,
one.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I
Hey,
think
Hager.
if you put, because I mean, Axler started off with numbers from North America, and if you looked at this side by side with North America, it would look very similar. North America has this huge area of that like kind of mossy green color is humid subtropical,
Okay.
and that's what we have a lot. Most of the Flanaess is humid subtropical, and that's partly because of the way Köppen definitions work by the rainfall model that I picked out, and also by I think the
Yeah.
big 30-degree
Yours is more detailed. Mine
thing.
is
Yeah.
just my first couple
So
of attempts. So there.
the
Yeah.
only
Mhm.
the only bits of when I put the numbers in, and there's this cool calculator on a Czech site that you can put your numbers in, and it gives you the Köppen thing.
Mhm.
That yellow spot over there in the north of Plains of the Paynims,
Yep, right
that's
here.
where
Right
I think you get Mediterranean.
Right
So
here.
I think the Mediterranean stuff, I think it's a bit like North America. The Mediterranean stuff's out in California,
Right.
because that's kind of what the Backlundish lands kind of
Okay.
are. They're that over the Rockies sort of territory.
Mhm. I
Okay.
don't agree
Most of the
with
flat,
on the
yeah.
Western Mediterranean because that's way too dry. It's on the shadowy side, and it's
Rick,
What do you mean,
also
like
too.
Spain? It's like southern Spain?
No. That's first. There are two reasons I didn't put Mediterranean climate up against the Yatils and stuff there. One is that it's so far away from the ocean, and secondly, and three reasons. Second, it's on the rain shadow, which doesn't exclude climate. We have it here in Southern California, but that's because we are close to the coast. And
Interesting.
thirdly, it's also probably much higher. It's so far inland from the coast, close to the mountains, so
Well,
it's much higher up.
so Anna,
Yep.
I have a question. When are we
Yep.
going to get a height map of the Flanaess?
I'm working on it. I'm going to talk about it on
Because that would be amazing.
Friday. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, on
no, that
Friday.
Crete
would
is
be
covered in olives.
because
Yep.
yeah.
this assumes like everything is kind of flat except for the mountains
Exactly.
and the hills.
Yes. Yep. Mhm.
Whereas it's going to be, if we get a lovely height map where we
Oh
can
yeah,
see
then we
like
need
elevations,
to. Then we need to work it in and
it would make this map look so much more realistic, because we
Yeah.
would see like I don't have the elevation rise that you would have around
Yeah.
White Plume Mountain, for
and
example.
especially if we want to do local weather reports, so to speak,
Yeah.
and stuff, then we need it. So, but
Be
show my
amazing.
Köppen example. Yours is more detailed, which is
Yours
awesome,
is
and
this
you
one?
put it. It's on the top one up there. There you have my Köppen. It's a simplified Köppen, but it's basically the same thing. So here we have it. And the things that stand out is that if you go on the eastern side where you have the sea
So you got on the other
barrens and stuff over there, there you have the coastal. Hang on a second here. So I'm using the right term here. So you
Oceanic.
exactly oceanic and temperate rainforest, the Ireland, so to speak. But also you have on the opposite side of the Flanaess in the Udgru forest and the Tusmit Ekbir area. There you have it on the other side. Same type of climate opposite side because you have the winds and the ocean currents creates them, but then you have lots of Mediterranean climate in the southeast part of it, so, meaning Alyssa, southern Grey Kingdom, and stuff like that. That will be because you have oceans on several sides, and you have warm currents coming in from the Solnor that creates very much like the southern Europe, like Spain, southern France, and very similar type of climate. They're even further south, so they are warmer. That means that they grow fairly far up, so to speak, so halfway up. And then north of there, you start having some of that moist air coming in from the ocean still, so to speak, but it's cooling off. And then you have temperate, continental temperate, like you have a Central Europe or a large part of the Midwest and stuff like that.
What's your
Middle.
orange here, Anna?
That is a dry steppe. Yeah,
So that's
that's
in,
mhm.
you have the entirety of the Horn Society and the Shieldlands in that.
Yes, yeah. And that was because there's hardly no forests in that area. It's just open green. So like we
Right.
need, and the
Okay.
reason
That's all
we
right. So that's a
tweaked,
big
yeah,
difference here because
yeah.
the
And
que-
one of the reasons that we figured out why the heck is there is like a little green spot if you go back in that's the White Plume Mountain sticking up.
Okay.
That's like cold.
I'll
and
go
stuff
back in a
there.
second. Rick Saw
Yep.
said, "Are there any steppes and prairies in Nyrund or Furundi?" And there really aren't. According Paul's map, definitely not. Right?
Oh,
There
yeah.
aren't any, and there aren't any in yours either. But just in that area of the Bandit Kingsman Shieldlands, you have it,
Mhm.
right?
And steppe just means that
Right. So,
in this, in Köppen, steppe means that you have dry. It means that you have a little bit of precipitation all year round, and the summers are warm, the winters are cold. So these are
yeah,
like
absolutely.
like cold steppes, so to speak. That means,
Okay.
but there's a little bit of rainfall all year round. I mean, it can rain in the winter, it can rain in the summer, and it's warm. The summers are warm and the winters are cold, and that's the steppe
And
climate.
your blue's warm, humid, rain.
That's a continental, humid continental.
Continental
That means
climate,
that's
yeah.
simply
That's
the
the same
same
that
as
Paul
steppe.
has.
It just means that it rains a bit more
Right.
than it does
And that's
in
your
steppe.
blue here too, right? It's not
Yeah.
your
No,
green, Paul.
same blue, yeah. It's the same blue, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
So steppe is one, meaning you have humid continental. That's like the Midwest or Central Europe, like Germany and northern France and stuff. There, but it rains regularly. And then steppe is halfway, one step towards desert, not temperature wise, but desert is not due to temperature, it's due to lack of
So it's
all right.
precipitation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's the Köppen
So there's
model.
there's a lot of crossover. Yeah.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Dale, Virtual GreyHawk starts tomorrow. At 7.
Rex Felix notes about a lot of the clear land probably has scattered forests.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes.
I
Yeah.
think,
Yes.
hmm
I think
And
the
steppes
basic,
do. Steppes
Yeah.
do. You know,
I think-
you can go to Colorado and Montana and a lot of those states
Right.
in the US. They are steppe. And-
as you said, the basic premise on the Darlene map is that whatever terrain is shown, that's 50% plus 1
hmm
of what the hex is.
hmm
So it shouldn't be, just because it's a plains doesn't mean it's all flat plains. No, there's going to be trees there. There's going to be some hills there popping up all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah, and typical for steppe is that it's the lowlands are grass, but then when you go up in the hills, it's often full of trees
Right.
because they're sticking up into the wet area. So they trees grow up on the hills, but then the flat land are the driest parts usually. And then you have trees around waterways and stuff because thanks to the hills getting a lot more. So a lot of these areas can have very little rainfall, but they can still have plenty of water in them. They might even have lakes and streams and stuff because the water comes from the ocean or from the mountains and then drains towards the ocean. So
Gallery forests.
Exactly. It can be so you have so these things can be deceiving. Just because you have a desert doesn't mean that there is no water. You can have, like in Africa, you have the Okavango Delta. Once a year it floods. It's in the middle of a desert, but you have one of the biggest deltas on earth because you have a major river that just drains out into the desert. So you can have interesting combination of things that a map like this doesn't have anywhere near enough detail to go into all these local things. So just because there is a steppe or even a desert doesn't mean there are no trees.
Okay.
Yeah, even Nevada has lots of trees, even if it's a desert
Yeah,
state through and through.
Well, I like it how I'm just blowing this up a little bit. My little tip of
Yeah.
Altamira is there, and it's a little bit. It's like a refuge from the heat a little bit in this blue
Yeah.
area, right in that
Look at
corner.
my
Makes the
map.
perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I
Look
was
at my
very
map.
aware of Altamira. And I was like,
Yeah.
Paul, thanks,
what's
man.
Altamira gonna be like?
Yeah. Look at my map, and you can
Yeah,
see
same thing.
roughly
It
the
goes
same
down
thing.
the same.
Yeah,
Absolutely, it's
you see
both.
that you have humid continental in
Whoops.
the Lort mills,
Right,
and
and
then
right there, right
yeah.
in that area, right
Mhm.
there. Yeah, so
Yeah,
right
and
there.
then the southern parts of it, then you get into it gets warm enough
Right.
that it doesn't rain. It's so
Yeah.
dry that it becomes dry steppe, so to speak. And the same thing with the Pomarche. The lowlands are Mediterranean and the highlands are dry steppe, because now we're getting into the and it works differently. In warmer climates, the mountains don't get that much when it gets it depends, so to speak, on so you have to play with different things.
So
And I just had to adjust it to whatever the model is
yeah.
what it looks like, so to
So
speak, in the
Anna, the
text.
one big thing, and just because I'm an aficionado of the left side of the map,
Yeah.
Paul has the area. The Sus is the Sus actually? Shouldn't that be more blue or the Sus
No,
forest? Rather? No.
Mediterranean. Remember that the
All right. So,
Mediterranean area was full of trees up until we cut
okay.
them down in Roman times.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the Mediterranean, Italy and Spain and the Greece and all that, they were full of Lebanon even has a tree on its flag
Right. And it's a
because they were the
conifer
land
too,
of the
isn't
sea.
it?
Exactly, cedar
Cedars,
trees.
yeah.
Yeah.
So meaning the southern Europe, the Mediterranean climate has tons of trees naturally.
Yeah.
It's just that
Okay. Okay.
exactly. It's just that we
All right.
cut them down today. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Good.
Yep.
Okay. I got another question.
It's actually cool because the Mediterranean climate has some of these most rich diversity of trees in of any climate, because you can get trees from temperate northern trees all the way down to almost tropical palm trees and stuff. So if you go to a country like Spain or Italy, they have some of the most diverse range of trees naturally, so to speak. Now they cut them down, but back in like 2,000-3,000 years ago, if you wanted to see a huge diversity of trees, a country like Italy, Greece, or Spain were probably really good candidates for finding lots of different variety of trees in one area, so to speak.
Here's my question. Now we have the Great Lakes in the U.S. and they're all together, so the effects are probably greater. But what are the effects of the climate off the three largest lakes here? They're all shaped like Great Lakes.
Yeah, it becomes regional ocean climate, meaning it stabilizes the climate. It cools the summers and it warms the winters, but it also prolongs the effect of things. So in the summer, the falls get warmer because the land cools off, but if you have a large body of water, it retains heat and then slowly releases it into its surroundings.
Okay.
But that also means that the spring, it's the opposite. It gets warmer away from the lake, and then the lake keeps the winter cold for longer. So it evens out the climate. There's less contrast between summer and winter, so to speak.
And Paul, you said that like this area, this mid bay would be devastatingly bad for climate running down because the winds are coming south from northeast to southwest. Correct?
I think they would get a lot of lake effect snows in Elkshire and
Tensor's
across
Castle,
to
all
Major
running.
Point.
And fogs and stuff like that. You get that in the winter, and like here in California, we have that onshore flow that creates a lot of clouds and fog and stuff like that. So, but it's good
and
for
same
agriculture.
over in the Duchy of Ernst as well. They get it there near Strand. That sort of coast there.
Especially spring, you will get a lot of stuff like that, and a little bit during the fall, but primarily spring, because that's when the water is still cold from the winter and the land warms up quickly. So you get that contrast between land, and you also get wind along the coast. There is always very much that wind because the sun warms up the land and then it blows in, so you get coastal breeze. So a lot of the winds blow away from the lake in every direction, so to speak, during the day, and then it evens out at night and you get a slow breeze back, so to speak. So you get this kind of interesting effect that the air outside the lake, you get the air's falling down and then it blows away from the lake. So the pressure gets lower in the middle of the lake and then it's higher in the surrounding areas. And that drives, you will have if you look at it from a satellite picture, you will have like a ring of cumulus clouds 50 to maybe 10 to 100 miles away from the lake, that creates more rain and stuff. And then the lake is way more open. But in the middle of the lake, you have the opposite effect, because then you have colder air coming down from up, and that mixes up with the warmer air. So you get like this kind of local effects that are very predictable. So fishermen, if you want to travel with boat, locals will know this, so they will wait and say, well, around 10 o'clock, then when the sea breeze starts, we can go, and we can go in this direction, because this time of the year the winds usually blow this way. So it's a lot of that repetitive local stuff
That's
that they will
and there's
know.
some of those are mentioned in the sources, because you get the
Yeah.
Safeton physic,
Mm-hmm.
for example, which
Yep.
I'm sure Jay knows from the sources. The Safeton physic,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of those predictable sort of weather-related winds, you know,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
related to the
And
temperatures in the
they have
sea. And
names in
Right,
Europe.
right,
The
right.
Volkswagen named their
Safe.
cars after these wind, the Passat, the
Mhm.
Golf wind, and so on. They have these these winds often have names, and that will be kind of cool. You can give weather phenomena in your campaign names, and their places can be named after them and stuff like that.
All right. I know we're running up on time. Oh crap! I got to reopen it. My question is this: while I'm reopening this, the lands of the barbarians and Rotic, is the climate there correct for what it is, or is it a little? All three of you, is it a little?
what do you mean? What do you mean by
Like
correct?
Rotic is a timberland, right? So if we go on here, so I can
I think it makes a lot of sense.
it makes
I
sense
think it
that
makes
it's
sense too.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right.
It's not. I don't think
sorry,
it's freezing cold, but I think it's because you've got that current coming up into Grand Deep Bay. I think it's
Okay.
warmer
It's just
maybe than
map.
people think. So it's more like, I think it's more like sort of Nova Scotia, sort of northern New England.
So that's more
in
wet
Ratic.
than freezing, right?
Right.
Well, it does get cold up there in
Right.
winter.
Okay.
Absolutely
Okay.
gets cold, but
it freezes over like on the western side of the mountains, meaning if you have Stonefist is way colder than
Well,
Bratic
Stonefist
is.
looks like it's steppe
Absolutely.
here, right? You
Oh
got
yeah, it's steppe, but
okay.
yeah, so it's cold steppe, so to speak. But that's
Gotcha.
because it's drier than the other side. The
Okay.
other the tundra there is just that it gets more rainfall than it's not the temperature difference. It's the you have the difference. You have the cold steppe, and then you have the subarctic, and the subarctic just it's cold steppes, and subarctic is say more about it's the temperature in rainfall rather than the temperature difference.
Yeah, I kind of saw Grand Deep Bay as Pacific Northwest,
Mm-hmm.
but I suppose Newfoundland is the same. So yeah,
similar. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And you have the sea barrens that's like the Oregon coast or Ireland, where you have cold temperate rainforests and stuff. But that effect disappears
I think it's warmer.
quickly. Oh yeah,
I think it's warmer down there.
But it's it's warmer. Yeah, but it's still that rainy kind of like Oregon, Washington State. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that effect disappears very quickly when you move inland and go further north, so to speak. Because you round off the land rounds off like that, and that means the effect disappears on the northern province, northern coast, and it's also a high coast up there, so that also affects it a bit.
This map is the biomes. So this is when you apply. So it uses a scheme called Holdridge. Holdridge allows you. He made up a scheme that you can look at temperature and rainfall, and it gives you what kind of biome, what sort of trees and plants are going to grow there. So it's got all of those, and you can get that once you've got temperature and rainfall. So I mean, and it largely agrees. I mean, there's you've got your tropical bands, you got your subtropical bands, you got temperate bands, and then you got steppes running along the top as well.
That's really cool.
I run the steppes down into the Bacloonish lands, though. I think which is a difference.
I see.
Well, yeah, I have the steppe. The whole western part there is steppes. Most of it is steppes. It's cold and then hot steppes, depending on elevation and how far south it is.
Yeah.
And then you have cold desert and hot desert down in the Paynims and the dry steppes and stuff. Those are hot
Corn
and
steppe
cold.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, cold deserts, and that gets to very hot desert.
And
Tropical
remember
deserts.
that desert doesn't mean temperature. Desert means that it's dry. It's drier than steppes. Steppes are a little bit of rainfall all year round, and
Rough
desert
rain for
means
grass.
hardly
Yeah.
no precipitation anywhere. But deserts can be cold, temperate, or hot, so or tropical. So yeah,
Okay.
or hot. Yeah. But
Amazing
cold
stuff.
deserts or
All
Arctic
detailed.
deserts are very rare. In the real world, they only appear in Antarctica, I think. There's none in the northern hemisphere. Only the southern hemisphere has cold deserts. And there's some in Tibetan Plateau, I think, is a cold desert too. And there are probably some valleys up in the Rockies and some in some other mountains in the Andes and other places that we locally be considered a cold desert too. But yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Great discussion.
It can be cool for an adventure. No one understands that when you go up in those mountain valleys and stuff, it becomes a desert. There's no water. It can be bone dry up there, and so you have if you don't bring water, that can be really dangerous. Yeah.
All right. So we the number one contention between Anna and Paul is Backlunish West. Right?
Yes.
No,
Maybe. Yeah.
yeah, maybe. I think that the baseline assumption. I followed the numbers that Axler gave, and Axler's working
Yeah.
on
Okay.
North America,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
I'm also not trying to model the Earth, because the Earth I think is different. It's because of
Yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
and what we did
whereas
was
Anna I
try.
think has followed a much more earthly
Oh,
model.
exactly. We try to model it like it would be a real planet, and then try to massage the numbers a little bit so it will fit the story, so to speak. But because I gave them, this is what the textbooks roughly says that it is, and then we try to give reasons for it, and we model it using real world programs and stuff. So
Now,
yeah.
now I'm going to get Sam in trouble. Sam, you said there were two things at the very beginning of this discussion. You said that you didn't agree with this article.
Right.
Oh.
Oh no 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 no.
Oh, I heard him.
I agree with
Knives
everything in Paul's article. I
Oh.
disagree with the
with
two
Axler.
things.
Yeah, it was
With
the
Axler's
dragon
article.
article.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I
I think
misunderstood. So did Paul.
You were just stirring. You were just stirring.
Paul's article absolutely recreates what Axler's article has.
Yep.
Okay.
I just think Axler's article has two inherent
Couple of
mistakes
issues,
and
yeah.
two
And
to
one of them's
follow through mistakes.
one of them's where Greyhawk's placed, right?
Yes, I think Greyhawk should be 5 degrees further north.
Okay.
And I don't think he should have used a city heat island as his base temperatures. He should have used the rural area base temperatures.
Okay.
And the linears.
Right.
The linears
then the other two things, yes, the linear progression and how exactly do we plot the temperature differences for a 30-degree axial tilt from a normal from an earthly axial tilt.
Well, I don't know if he ever. I think he might have been handed that by Gary. It's like I don't know if he invented that.
No, I think that's from
Gary.
Oh, we'll try it.
Yeah, it was like he was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this, so I'm going to just ignore it.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Here's his
So
permission
no,
on Paul.
like I say, that's why I said Paul's article from the start. You know, if you want to expand on climate and such in any discussion, go to Paul's article.
Well, that's the whole thing, and it's free for everyone to download.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
don't have it, there's no reason you shouldn't have this. You know,
Yeah.
for your Greyhawk.
Yeah, I'm going to post a link to a YouTube channel. If you want to nerd yourself way too deep into this, there is one YouTube channel. It's a guy called Artifaction. He's from Ireland, of all places, because that's probably when you get very interested in climate. And I met him at PatroCon in 2018. He's an awesome dude, and he has a fantastic channel and a Patreon and stuff that he presents. He goes into enormous amount of detail talking about stuff like this. It's amazing. So if you want to dig into this part of world building and dig 10 times deeper than we've done today or 100 times, his channel is fantastic. So he has a lot of cool stuff. So yeah.
So I think Iron League Rexfellis is different. It's humid subtropical, but it's in a weird spot. It's elevated, right? It's in the mountains.
I have it as Mediterranean.
All right, so yeah.
I have it as humid subtropical.
Yep. There's a difference there. So either one.
It wouldn't be temperate. I think it's too far. It's either Mediterranean
That's
or
where I have the dry the water that flows around in it. So you have humid subtropical on the Silvanot side, so to speak. That's where you get most of it, and you get the drier in the northern parts. So yeah.
Beautiful. All right, what would
Yeah.
everyone like to say in closing on this wonderful discussion? Sam, kick it off.
Um, well, in terms of climate and seasons and weather, I think we really covered a lot of it.
Yeah, it was great.
Um, like I say, you've got now this. You got Paul's article, and I default back to what you said at the beginning. I think the climate of the Flanays is set up in a way to be good for adventuring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's there, so and anywhere from Furiundi to Niron, you can adventure without really worrying too much about getting caught in something horrible outside, unless the DM feels like it.
Hey Jeff.
Now,
Right.
other areas get a little more variation, but for the most part, you're going to have good weather for doing your dungeon crawls, which you're not even out in the weather.
But now we know there can be a tornado or two in the Flanaess, and there can be some
Oh, yeah.
hurricanes.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Especially if you keep those pesky druids, either too
Well,
many
there
of
could be
them
that
around,
anywhere.
or yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the adventure that the druids standing around and just doing a snowstorm on the town? What was that?
I don't think I've heard of that adventure.
Why do I think it was Beyond the Crystal Cave? They were just blasting this town with a snowstorm the entire time.
I do not recall.
What's up, Gary? October. Yeah, that's it. October. GreyHawk starts tomorrow. Paul, thanks for hopping on. What? Anything you have in
thank
closing?
you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Great discussion.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, for anyone, you don't need to have a weather system. You don't need to have a climate system. But it's seeing as they put it out there back in 1970 or 80, whatever, 1980 something, 82. It was just nice to try and build it and see what sort of Flanaess you get out of those numbers. And I think it's kind of interesting to take it then to the nth degree, then start saying, well, where does the wheat grow and where does the maize grow? Because yeah, it doesn't help if if all you want to do is do adventuring, fine. But if you want to do a little bit of world building and you want to add a little bit of, not just the same old European, they're eating porridge and oats and blah blah blah. They could be eating rice or maize in that part of the
turnips.
Flanaess.
That's what I forced
turnips,
them to live on in my
yams,
Shieldlands game.
Sorghums. It's a much more
Or
interesting.
kumquats.
Yeah, well, they're
kumquats.
approved now. The weatherman
Official.
approves climate.
Official, approved by the weather.
Yep.
So yeah,
both of us.
So just by taking this crazy nerdy journey, you can get some interesting thoughts about what to put in different parts of the Flanaess, and that's the whole goal here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's another for us. People have been around forever. This is super deep diving, right? Which is really cool, where we can do.
I don't think you can get deeper.
No, Paul, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
And we got more coming, because you said in the next magazine you're gonna have
Oh yeah, you're gonna have the wines where you can get different types of wine.
And then we have geography and plate tectonics and stuff. I'm working on ideas on that too.
In Grey Grimoire. And yeah, just to Darling's comment, it's amazing the amount of I'm not a weather guy, I'm not a wine guy, but I've learned a lot about weather and wine and crops and all this sort of stuff. Just trying to track all this down. You just acquire all this crazy knowledge when you get into role-playing games.
So Anna, what are your thoughts on this?
I think for me, meaning I was a nerd on this before I even started playing role-playing games, but I love it. It's so cool. For me, it's so fantastic to bring together several of my passions. I mean, being into aviation and being in and reading weather reports and understanding the weather was part of my job before, and part of my the passion, and then bring that into my role-playing games. That's like married to passions, and it's so much fun. It's awesome. And you can of course overdo this, and it's one of these things that it's awesome if it's there. Even I don't use it all the time. I can ignore it from time to time, but it's awesome, especially when you plan campaign planning, meaning that's when I want to have it. Like, okay, it's not season to go up there because it's too cold, or that might be the reason to go up there when it's cold because no one else is there. So if you want to infiltrate an area, it might be much better to go in the winter where there's no one there. and so on. And I was wondering, is skiing a thing in the Flannies? I don't think they have skis. That's
I don't.
the snowshoes. Yeah.
It's like not every modern amenity has been.
Oh, but skis have been around for well over the
Very
Vikings
ancient.
skied,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Maybe
So
the snow
it's
elves have them.
yeah. Yep.
You know.
By the way, I'm written
Walk
up
on top of the
a
snow.
thing about snow elves too
Yeah.
in my campaign. So the reason that I think they're
Oh.
there. Yeah. So I love this topic. So thank you, Sam and Paul, for coming in and babbling this with us. That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Shout outs. Sam, what's going on?
Okay, well, you now know about Visions. Sorry, about Grimoire 3.
Yeah.
And in addition to an article on scale tectonics, something that might interest you, that's where the first two of the Legends of Altamira show up.
Nice.
So some of your people are there.
Beautiful.
Um, we're slogging away. We're going to have Grimoire 4 out for the summer for the spring.
Okay.
Well, so we're gonna have a Grimoire 4, Grimoire 5. We're gonna have 4 issues this year. We'll have a spring issue. We may have an article by me and Paul
Oh,
on the Frost Wheat.
are we gonna have that out in time for Gary Con?
Probably,
Okay.
probably,
Yay.
I
and
gotta get.
probably another article from me and Paul.
I'll get.
We did a classical campaign that wound up being not really any kind of new canon, although I do slip some bits of additional lore in there. So does Paul. He put in a lot, but it's setting up a classical campaign in the Falls Gap region
Yeah.
when
Cool.
Thistle was uncontrolled in a period from around 100 to 350 CY.
Okay.
And everybody wanted it because, well, of course, it's where all the trade goes. I have
No
a
one wants to go to war. So it's
No.
all spies and diplomacy, and
Yeah.
there's going to
Yes,
be a
Nothing wrong with
war, but
that.
there isn't a war yet.
yes, yeah, and it's just that idea is like, okay, here's another way. Here's a historical campaign with another focus you can set up.
Okay.
There's several new canon things that I released in the past couple of weeks. My ancient history's finally out. Um, the new canon and the new canon presents again. This is something I did revisions of the racial stocks of the Flanays,
Okay.
and I asked for outside input and help, and Paul jumped in with so much stuff that I said I can't just put his stuff in as sort of like an aside to my vision. I did a complete. It's got two sets of entries. My new canon version and Paul's, which is more the hard canon version from the LGG.
Okay.
And
Cool.
and just that's it. Just been
Got a lot of
writing.
good stuff.
Writing. Yeah, so we got there's you've got Gary, you got more visions coming out. You got the Underdark issue with a couple of extra things that slipped in. We have more Grimoire coming out.
All right. Fantastic. Looking forward to all of it. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Paul, but anything to add from what Sam said? It seems like you're doing a lot there, which is great.
Oh yeah, I got a couple other things. I mean, I hate to tell you, Sam, I've been doing some other things with some other people. So Gary's got me. I know the NetBot. He got me pegged to do I'm doing up a trade route map. So one of my painting the Flanneys type of maps, try to paint in the main trade routes and then the commodities that might be on them. So Gary, if you're listening, I'm still working on that.
Awesome.
I haven't sent them an update in a while, so consider this your update, Gary. I'm also given that what's happening in November, myself and Stuart Kerrigan are pulling together like a little intro. Hopefully not too long. I think everyone's going to probably do one of these, but I'm doing like a list of sources, going through. I went through all the dungeon magazines. Well,
Oh,
not through the
nice.
dungeons. I went through Longitalis's database of dungeon magazines
Mm-hmm.
or dragon magazines and pull stuff out and some other stuff. And just trying to collate those into a list that's digestible for people. It's like, here's the GREYHAWK canon. Here's all the stuff that was published. There's a lot of stuff here that you might be able to pull stuff out of. That's it's not 5e. You mightn't like all of it, but look, it's all here. Here it all is. So that's the thing I'm working on. I got those orthographia, those crops, a couple of more of those to come out. There's obviously the one coming out in Visions, and then I'm still plugging away at my Almanac of the Becklunish West, which is a
Wow.
behemoth. But
Okay.
I'm on to old now, so nearly there.
Nice. Well, thank you for hopping on it. No notice.
Yeah.
So that's. I mean,
No
you
worries.
put in a lot of great
Mhm.
content, and we could take
Yeah.
a look at it. There's a slight difference between you and Anna, and thought processes on that, and yeah, questions of mine were answered that I wanted to know, which was awesome. Just to find out about
Yeah,
some
your
certain things.
kumquats are safe. So yeah.
Kumquats are safe, and
Kumquats
tornadoes
are
are
safe.
good to go. I'm going to throw
Yeah.
a natural tornado down someone. They're going to go, oh, there's a wizard. And it's actually going to be naturally occurring, which is kind of funny when
It's
you think about it.
Yeah.
man. It's that
Yeah.
time of year.
Definitely. But I got them in a swamp on Thursday. If you haven't seen that yet, if you weren't on at the beginning. So, but we'll talk about that in a second. Anna, what's going on?
Oh yeah, now it's I pulled some almost all overnighters to get ready for both the game on
Yeah, let me get
Saturday
those up
and
again.
then
One sec.
the seminar on Friday.
Friday.
So yeah. So I posted today for my patrons is for everybody. So I posted the rules sample. It's an alpha rule sample. So let me go into Patreon here so I can just put it in there. It's you can for the Hawktail rules that we will use. I put a little sample in. It's a PDF. It's only 1 megabyte. So it's like what is it, like 10 pages of the basic rules for Hawktails that I'm using. And tomorrow will be I will post, or later tonight, we'll see. I'll post the backstories and the stat blocks of the pregens. There's 7 pregens. Some of them you'll
Cool.
recognize because they were the pregens I've used last 2 years ago when I ran the game. So it's the same ones that are just being upgraded to 7th or 8th level. So they're being beefed up significantly. So it will be a tough bunch of characters that will go on the adventure for a bit. So
Excellent.
and now I'm also trying to get as many slides and stuff together. So that will be tonight's mission and tomorrow's mission.
Yes, because I need them.
Yeah, exactly. You need them. So yep.
All right. So
yep.
That's at 6 o'clock EDT on Friday, not 7, 6 to 8. Then we raid into Carlos's game. Okay, I'll be at a seminar with Troller Games from 5, and I'll get off there at like 5:50. That's plenty of time for me to get going for them to raid into us at 6. So that is that. And then if you want to see Anna's game in action, live stream, that is 3 p.m. Saturday.
Yep.
Okay.
And I will talk about the rules and stuff on my seminar too. So go through some of the weird quirks and stuff will be.
Excellent. And Anna, you better you got to figure out how to raid into the joust on. Make sure you do that.
Yeah, you have to give me that. You gave me the command last year.
I'll show. I'll show you how. I'll go over it.
I have to train. I have to log in and
I'll go over it Friday night when we're raiding into Carlos. How's that sound?
Good.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep. That makes sense.
Raiding into the Grand Joust. All right. Well, Anna's got a lot. We all got a lot going on. So, just a little snippet here of it's swampy here. And remember, I did not. So you cannot blame me on any of this. So I made some minor changes because I do stuff like that. But I did not write this adventure. It is the work of William Henry Dvorak, and it'll be out for sale soon. It had to change the name of it to protect the innocent, of course. But Lost City, the Zool.
I kind of like it spelled with the Z.
That's
cool.
And it's an OSR and 5e. But I mean, I got this thing's 200 some pages. I just have a snippet of this, just a snippet. So and that's part of as you can see, there's some baddies running around there in the Lost City, but that is going to be Thursday night. Kicks off Virtual GrowCon 5. Ed Greenwood will be on probably between 8:30 and 9. I'll be NPCing Revelantor before then. We have 3 open signups. I know Phantom's one of them. 3 of my players and Ed running this. That'll kick off, and then we'll raid into Darling. And other highlights from on my channel. We got Anna's on Friday. early Saturday morning, the ever mysterious Tim, Enemies of My Enemies, his Rovers of the Baron game continues, the Dark Hand. So it's been a while since he's played them, really. So October 5th, 8 a.m., and then the big Grand Joust, grudge match style. Look at all the great guests. Luke, Little Bones, Mike Disney, Darling, Coco, Korg, Sir Timothy, the ever mysterious Tim, to name a few. And that's at 6 p.m. Saturday. And then, boom. Oh, I didn't have it up. Oh, that's wrong. That is wrong. Hold on. How did I miss that? Sunday night. GREYHAWK, the experts. I'm going to have so you're new to GREYHAWK, let's talk 10 a.m. Sunday. From 10 to 12, that's the filler. So you're new to GREYHAWK, and it's going to be like a welcoming thing. We'll take basic questions. What's up, Jeremy? Jeremy's sponsoring, giving a lot of great, Gamescape 3D, giving a lot of great giveaways for Virtual GrowdCon as well. So there you go. We're going to, along with Troller Games, we're going to have a lot of giveaways. Roger Moore, Alan Growy, Joe Block, and Malden in this. And then I'm going to have, during that, I'm going to have 3 GREYHAWK Achievement Awards. I'm going to give out to 3 deserving individuals. All right. So I think we should finally start recognizing some people. Because if we wait for WotC to do it, they're never going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So let's celebrate our own. You know, celebrate the community. Loads of fun. All right. Let's do the giveaway, and then see you all. What time is it there, Paul?
It is 11 minutes past 2 in the morning.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
You got to work tomorrow?
Yep.
If you want to bolt, it's cool.
I'm a night owl.
Okay.
I'll be up anyway.
All right, here we go. Let's call exclamation point drawing. Classic D&D reprint giveaway. Your choice of what I have here. I'm all caught up on giveaways right now, everyone. All the Memorial Tombs and all the Troller Game gift certificates from the weekend went out. So closing this out, let's see who wins tonight. The winner is Began. Began, get with me, and we will. Yeah, Dennis, are you excited? Yeah, Began won, so he's on. So there we go. I know he's on. He's in chat in the log, so he's good to go. We're raiding into Stronghold, a partner of ours, and Tim is going to be in the joust with his character Tim DeTruly, the Paladin. He's seated 15th out of 16. So there you go. The newcomers. Thank you all. What a great show. This was wonderful.
See, they turned out well. Yep.
Absolutely. Sometimes when you fly by the seat of your pants, it's the best way to do things sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, thanks a lot. We'll see you tomorrow night, kicking off Virtual GrowdCon. Let's all have fun.
Yep.
Keep the communication channels open. Talk to your DMs. Reach out. You got to have communication. Got to know where you're going to be, character sheets beforehand, all that, right? All right, we're good. See you all soon. Boom, boom. I'm going to hit the wrong button. I haven't hit the wrong button in a while.
Exactly. You haven't done
no, I haven't hit one in a while. Good. Yeah. But
we didn't crash the stream either, so that's good. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. One last thing.
Oh, okay.
There's a change. I'm sorry, Troy. There's a change. Mike Shea is taking the place of Joe Block on that seminar for publishing 9 p.m. Saturday night, right after the joust. Okay. 9 p.m. Saturday night. The Mike Shea himself will be on. He won't be on for a long time, but he'll be on for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. He'll give you a part of that, and that's the man you want to talk to about publishing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so there you go, man. Thanks, Troy, for. I'm sorry, I'm such a mental midget sometimes. All right, so please check that out. You can always lurk there while the joust is going on, but it'll be, it'll be a lot. Chock full of everywhere. Chock full of things to do. All right, here we go. All right, raid setting up. By the way, raids count toward Twitch partnership now evaluation. They just started it. So don't think your raids don't help another streamer. They always do. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow night for Virtual GrowdCon 5. Boom. Awesome. We got late in the music there because I babbled a bit there. Alrighty.